Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
In the military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-791-0000. That's 800-791-0000.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge
you, sir?
I'm good, sir. I'm spiced up, man. I'm ready to talk my talk today, man.
I'm trying to gauge your energy.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk my talk.
Okay.
I'm spiced up. I'm a little excited because there's a lot of controversy. I feel like going around the station. Guys' takes are getting dissected and picked apart. And I feel like we're getting ready to get into some of that today. A lot of toxicity today. Let's do it.
Okay, so on the text line, somebody says, Dan, I love – now, so I don't know if there's a typo here or not. Either way, it's fine. But the first texter on the board says, Dan, I love that you're just ripping off all the shows, but I also love that you're continuing the Zach Buy sensitivity campaign day number whatever it is. So I only wonder I'm questionable if he meant to say ripping off or ripping on. Because if he says I'm ripping off, that would be kind of a sweet irony, right? Because I always accuse the other shows of
plagiarism.
Yeah, well, I basically say they're flattering me, right? Like if you want to know what they're going to be talking about on the drive, in the future, you listen to the Dan Jacobs Show today, right? And which is true. It's been true for 7-8 years now. If you're saying I'm ripping them off, I would say it's a little different because the stuff they take from me is fresh, new, or hasn't been spoken about before. Now, if you're saying I'm ripping them off because I'm talking about the same things they're talking about, well, you have to consider the context. First off, I'm under court order to do that now. Now, I don't want to get myself in trouble because sometimes, like, I'm old school. And I used to love it, like when David Letterman would, rip on CBS management, or maybe it was NBC management or whatever. He would rip on management. I don't rip on management because I'm very grateful for what I have going on here. I'm in a very fortunate situation, nothing but gratitude. So, but I do have fun tongue-in-cheek with management from time to time. And I've been told by management, because, my thing is they've been talking about this stuff. They've been talking about Bo Nix's ankle all week long. Okay? Do I need to talk about Bo Nix's ankle? I don't, right? They've been talking about Evan Ingram all week long. So if I talk about Evan Ingram, I want to have a new wrinkle on it. And that wrinkle may be smashing on Stokely or these guys for getting drunk off the Broncos Kool-Aid with Evan Ingram and stuff like that. So I'll try and say something different. But I have been told recently, because for me, a lot about the fun of the show is I'm in a certain time of life that I think is very similar to, so I'm going through life experiences that are very similar to a lot of people my age. And I like to include the audience in that journey and see if we have similar things or whatever. But I have been told, no, you have to talk. You gotta talk about what everybody else is talking about. I'm like, well, but management guy, we've been beating that to death all week. Can I do something different? And like, no, sports. Talk about Bo Nix's ankle. All right, well, cool. I say that, tongue in cheek, so to speak. But yeah, so if love you, texter, getting in there. So whether you're saying I'm ripping off or ripping on all the other shows, we're glad to have you in the mix here, so to speak. By the way, don't sleep on our YouTube channel. Sean Boyd is a very handsome young man. He's got those green eyes or whatever that just hypnotize the ladies. So you get to see what he looks like. You get to see what I look like. And then you get to also send a little bit of a message to station management that, hey, we support the Dan Jacobs Show, because they look at the numbers. So I would love for you. It doesn't cost you anything, but you're a big support to the show if you go ahead and check us out on, you're in the garage. You listen on the radio, but you can also just, hey, I'll just watch the show on the Denver Sports YouTube channel. So we appreciate you there on that. Now, I like you talking about spicy. And thank you to you and Alex for helping me orchestrate this. But I come in and I talk to Mike, and I'm like, Mike, I'm going to come at you a little bit. He's like, what could I possibly have said that would allow you to do that? I said, well, it has to do with you and Nikola Jokic and the fans. And you could see he's just his mind's working like, what? Everything I said is personal reason, very reasonable, 100% reasonable. I said, no, it wasn't. And I'm going to put you on the hit list. And so we're going to tear that apart here a little bit later. I just don't want to pay off that tease just yet. Now, did you have, you said you're coming in hot. Now we have James Marilat coming up in about 4 minutes. By the way, how was your party? What did you do, Sean Boyd?
I'm one of the worst guys in the world. I was Ferris Bueller this weekend, right? And
were you sick?
No, I was Ferris Bueller.
Fake sick?
I just had the whole house to myself, and I was sliding around the house in my tube socks and my dress shirt, and I didn't do anything.
That's risky business, dude.
Well, either way,
Tom Cruise risky business.
Hey, look, man, I was born in the '80s. I didn't watch the movies in the '80s, but here we go. All right, so I didn't have anything going. I got invited to multiple barbecues and stuff like that.
Like the Von Miller type, like when you were hanging out with Von?
No, see, that would have got me out the house. Everything else was just like, man, I just don't feel like it, because I had to be to work the next day. But I celebrated the holiday of America's 250th birthday by watching some great boxing. I went and got a turkey leg, ended up paying for 2 turkey legs. Dan, ask me how much 2 turkey legs cost.
Sean, what I was wondering was, how much do, if you want to get, like, say, 2 turkey legs, how much would they cost?
I would not expect them to cost me $40.
What? You're out of your dang mind.
Yeah, $40 for 2 turkey legs. I was like, I feel like I paid inflation all weekend long for everything I did. If I went to the gas station, I paid some type of inflation. And this is clear inflation when I buy 2 turkey legs, no sides with the plate. It's just
from where?
I was at like the Rancho Market over off of Colfax and Chambers.
Is that like high end, like Tony's Meats or something?
No. This is like this is a Latino market where they just have a bunch of different stores inside of like the old Kmart that used to be there, and they have little food trucks inside of there as well. And I don't know, maybe they see me coming, they were just like, yeah, this guy's a lick.
Dude, you can buy a whole turkey for
$34.
Do they even cost that much? I guess off season.
I tipped them. I tipped them as well. So because that's just the type of guy I am. I want to make sure that I grease your palms so that you treat me right. And I just felt taken advantage of. But I definitely enjoyed watching some boxing last night. I went and played in a bowling tournament, Knicks ABT. I placed 16th. Ironically enough, I am the 16th Chapel, and so it was one of those weekends, man. We'll holler at James.
All right, you get James on there. I'll check in the RumbleSlaw.com text line. Okay, here comes coming in hot, Brian from Nebraska. Dan, I'm sick and tired of you being held down by the management, telling you to talk more sports. I always look forward to your show because you include talk about good people doing good deeds and some barbecue talk too. No more being held down by the man. Break free, Dan. Brian from Evans lost a bet, had to move to Nebraska. Well, thank you very much. I gotta be honest. I've had a pretty good run of romp off the leash, so to speak. In the last 8 years here. So they give me one little feedback, and all I do is smash on them, right? One little thing of feedback. No, I love my bosses here. I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity to spend my Sundays with you. Hey, Dan, you gained a lot of respect from me yesterday for supporting the USA yesterday. Didn't hear it till this morning listening to the podcast. Thank you, Shane from Berthoud. Yeah, I went out on a limb a little bit yesterday and just kind of, I got a little bit vulnerable, and a couple people had nice words, and a couple people stomped on my soul, so to speak. They didn't want any part of it. So thank you, Shane from Berthoud. That means a lot to me. I'm not going to rehash it, but yeah, I just did a little segment about my gratitude for being in this country, and I know it's not always fashionable anymore. Patriotism is not right now in vogue, but I said, we're still in a very great place, and of course I'm grateful for that. I won't rehash the whole thing. So do we have James, or what are we doing? No James Marilat just yet? All right, James. We're talking about how this is the most popular segment in Denver sports radio. And so I was chomping at the bit to get James Marilat on. So I'll shoot him a quick text because I texted him about an hour ago. He's ready. He said he was ready. So just saying, I'm just sending him a quick text right now. Really quick to get him on because I don't want to miss this segment because this is our beefiest segment. So looking forward to speaking with James, who of course is on the Jokic train. And so I want to get into that with him, and then maybe I'll give a little sneak peek of what we were talking. The bit that we're going to replay from Mike Rice from actually almost exactly an hour ago. I know James will probably have some thoughts on that. Rock out the barbecue, Dan. I love the fact that you're called the barbecue lawyer now. Well, thank you very much. I actually bought a client. I was visiting a client in the hospital like last month. I was like, hey, she's like, oh, you're the barbecue lawyer. Can I get some barbecue? So I made some barbecue for her and brought it up to her hospital room the next day. All right, James Marilat, we have you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm great, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What can I get on your bacon about right now? Like, I noticed you've been a little cautious with the gold that you typically give us on like social media. You've been a little quiet recently. You have put out there the stuff about trading Nicola and things like that. So what's got you fired up right now on the day after 4th of July?
Well, I'm still excited to see what happens with the LeBron sweepstakes. Now, I think that's a long shot. I think the Nuggets are going to turn out to be maybe not even they may be a bridesmaid. They won't be the maid of honor, but they'll be the bridesmaid, but they're not going to be the bride. So that's going to be disappointing. And then when they don't get anybody there, they weren't involved in the Jaylen Brown trade. Obviously, he goes to Philly. So we're going to be having the conversation. Well, what are the Nuggets doing? Are they just running it back? What do they do with Payton Watson? If they don't bring him back and don't run it back with everyone, then it'll really be a mystery of, man, they're wasting a year with Jokic here. What do you do with him not signing his extension? Like, it gets messy at that point, Dan. So there's two ways they can avoid that. Obviously, the LeBron signing would be a huge way to avoid it. At least, re-sign Payton Watson, run it back. We can all debate and talk about whether or not it would have been different if they'd had Payton Watson and AG, but at least there's an argument to be made. If this roster goes backward too much, I mean, you've already lost Big Val, you've already lost Tim Hardaway Jr., not huge losses, but certainly haven't replaced them yet. That's what's going to be sticking in our craw is, oh my gosh, you got a year of Nikola Jokic's prime that is dwindling, and you didn't bother to improve the roster. If anything, you took a step back. That would be disappointing.
All right, so let me ask you this, because you actually have a unique perspective on this, and I understand I might be putting you on the spot, but you've been highly critical of the Kroenkes, so I don't think I'm out of bounds with this question. But there's a lot of talk about whether the Kroenkes are cheap or not, if they want to always looking to pinch a buck. You have some people that say yes, some people say that's not fair. Look at all the championships, all they do is win, this and that. Now, a lot of people don't know this. You were a 2-time big-time executive over there because you started Altitude Sports Radio, and then you slid over into you kind of called yourself the Joe Ellis, so to speak, front office guy, business guy of the Mammoth, who also won a championship. Was it your experience when you were in that executive role? Did they say, hey, what we're here to do is we're here to be like Pat Bowlen. We hire good people, and we give them all the resources they need to succeed, or were they cheap? What was your experience as a big executive there at the building?
Well, I'm going to hedge my answer a bit, or it's going to sound like a hedge, and I'm really not trying to. It was a little bit of somewhere in between, right? It wasn't Super Bowl or bust mentality of Pat Bowlen, and we'll spend whatever we have to spend, but it also wasn't cheap. They're not the Bidwells and some of the owners that have been in sports for Paul Brown and or Mike Brown in Cincinnati. They're not in that category. They'll spend money. They're just not going to overspend. They're not going to push all their chips in. I mean, the number of times I sat in a meeting and heard, hey, we want to win and we want to make money, not in that order. It's like, okay, I get it. You're running a business. They want to win. They don't have to win, right? Like, I think there's a different mentality. Yeah. I think there are some owners that have to win, and they'll spend whatever they have to do it. They're running a business. Every single one of them is run as an individual in its own silo. So if the Nuggets are doing great financially, that doesn't help compensate for the Avs, falling short, as an example. So then the other part of it was they didn't, player-wise, they probably did, but they didn't really invest in their people, right? Like, it wasn't like, hey, we've got this great GM, we've got this great team president, we've got this whatever.
What are you talking about? You're one of those guys. Like, you're the guy.
They didn't look at it and say, we got to do whatever we got to do to keep them. If something came along that was a better offer, they were happy to let him walk because there's plenty of people lining up to take those jobs.
I heard that you demanded ownership in the Mammoth, and that they were in a position where they simply
played the
couldn't
Tim Connolly card.
Yeah, you were like the original Tim Connolly, and they were distraught because they knew the hits they would take if they let you walk out the door with the Mammoth, but they had no choice because your salary demands were just so exorbitant that they had no choice, James.
And look, it was a great experience. The people I worked with were awesome. I'm just giving you the honest answer of how they run their organization. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to get back in media, but when the offer from the fan came along, it was like, okay. And they were happy to find somebody else to take my job at the Mammoth, and that was okay.
You know me, I'm just curious. So if you're gonna throw a little breadcrumb out there, I'm gonna want to follow it until you cut me off. What do you mean you didn't think you were going to get back into media? What was your plan? What did you think you were going to do?
I intentionally moved over to the team side of things. So it was, say, work for the Mammoth, kind of learn the business, learn things over there, and then hopefully move to the Nuggets or Avs or even the Rams at that point, since I was in the organization. That was the ultimate plan, but then the chance to, join the Patriots of sports media in Denver came along, and it was too hard to pass up.
Okay. Well, hey, we're glad we benefit from it. It's awesome. Now let me ask you this. I'm going to give you a softball because I know your answer. By the way, I did, James, because you came on the show on Friday, and you were trotting out there this narrative that Carmelo Anthony was completely fair to the Nuggets, and all he said was, I just want to know, if you're going to rebuild, let me out. And you said, go look it up. He said it at the time, because I know he says it now, and he said it 5 years ago after he retired, and he's trying to change the narrative afterwards. But I did not see, all I saw were quotes saying, I just want to keep my options open. I just want to keep my options open, this and that. So, I did not see any narrative where at the time he was going public saying, guys, I love Denver and I want to stay, but, they're not serious about winning here, so I want to leave.
It was more about their commitment to winning, and it was also sort of their direction, right? Because they were at a crossroads. That was after George Karl had the cancer situation to where he couldn't coach him in the second half of the season in the playoffs. They had big decisions to make on Kmart and Marcus Camby and players like that were key pieces of that team. So he couldn't get answers on, well, what are we doing with these guys? What's the plan? Where are we going? What's the commitment? And that was part of the reason he was up in the air on what he was going to do. So, and I think those are very fair questions on his part. He had gotten to the point with the organization where he was that level of player, best player in the history of the organization prior to Nikola Jokic. And so it was fair for him to ask those questions. And if they couldn't give him the answers he wanted, he was going to go somewhere else where he thought he could get that commitment.
Okay, so here's the question. Hey, man, this is business. Teams aren't necessarily loyal to their players or whatever. So he wanted to leave, he left. And he gave them an opportunity. He was very fair and open and honest with them. Say, hey, man, get what you can. I want to go. And they did. So now we have Nikola Jokic. I said on the show the other day, hey, if they're going to waste his career, I'd rather him go somewhere else where we can see him be free and happy and maybe win a championship and be on legitimate contenders and not have to slog through and have all these seasons where they have no shot and James Merilatt's taking shots and he's not in shape and this and that. But if he leaves, isn't it the same thing? Mike Rice was saying, well, no, I think the fans would be okay with it. So would that be a double standard by the fans that if Nikola Jokic leaves, the city behind, oh, well, he gave us his best, but Carmelo Anthony he's the villain that had to, Lala had to take to New York?
Yes, it'd be a giant double standard. Now, there's reasons for that. One of them is Melo every year disappointed in the playoffs, and then he acted like, at least in the minds of people who believe the narrative, and Will Peterson's at the top of this group, that, he was too good for Denver, and that's the story they got out there. So, if it depends on what the spin is from the team. If Jokic turns down $350 million or whatever it is next year and goes and signs for, $100 million less to play in New York or LA or somewhere like that, there may be some of that positioning, but he's also won a title here. So that gives him basically a free pass. He can go do whatever he wants to after that. That's the difference. Melo, other than one season, was done in the first round of the playoffs every year. And then the perception was that he was acting like he was better than the Nuggets or too good for the Nuggets, and that rubbed people the wrong way. Jokic isn't going to be that way because he's got that title, and there's no way that that's ever going to you can't take that away, obviously, and there's certain members of the fan base and a big piece of them that as long as that happens, there's nothing he can do that's going to be wrong.
All right, real quick, Broncos. Can we just call them the new sheriff of the AFC? Why would we have any other expectations than stuff? They added Jalen Waddle. They got, basically running back the defense. Bo Nix is coming back another year stronger. You're coming around on Sean Payton. I don't know that you're 100% there yet, James, but you're coming around. You're at least keeping your options open on that. So why would we expect anything less?
We shouldn't. I'm very bullish on the Broncos. Now, that said, do I think they're going to go 14-3? I don't. They hit a lot of green lights last year. They have a much tougher schedule this year. 14 wins is tough to get to. They're not going to win that high a percentage of one-score games. They could be a much better team and go 12-5. But I think they're going to contend for certainly the AFC West. I think they're going to contend for that one seed. And I think they'll have a home playoff game to start with. And once you're in the tournament at that point, anything can happen. So it's not Super Bowl or bust from the standpoint of, hey, if they don't get there, it's time to rethink Bo Nix and it's time to rethink Sean Payton. It's not that case, but it is, hey, that's a realistic expectation, is that they should be contending for the Super Bowl, could get to the Super Bowl, could win the Super Bowl. Absolutely. Bo Nix is, we saw last year, when he's out there, they got a chance in every single game. When he's not, it's pretty ugly. So I think that AFC title game, and look, I was on board by then, but I was a skeptic to start with Bo Nix. But after that game, after watching Jarrett Stidham run this team, if that didn't make you believe that, hey, Bo Nix is the guy, I don't think anything's going to convince you. So I'm bullish on this team. I think it's Super Bowl expectations, not Super Bowl or bust.
You weren't high on him? I thought you were giving him the ultimate compliment by calling him right-handed Tebow.
Well, I mean, he was a gamer, made plays late, pulled the rabbit out of the hat. That was a compliment. So, we were talking the other day who the top 5 quarterbacks in Broncos history is. It left-handed Tebow or right-handed Tebow? You decide.
I love it. We did, by the way. Thank you for that. We had some good segments about that afterwards.
Oh,
now
you're welcome. I'm co-producing the show now.
Yeah, absolutely. You get double your pay. You get double your management pay.
Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
Now let me ask you 2 more fun ones. When we were setting this up, I don't want to get into your business. Because far be it from me, to poke around in, your personal life. But you said you were on East Coast time. Did you go to? I know you run in some pretty rich, fat circles. Were you at the wedding?
I was not. I am standing at the Ernest F. Hollins terminal at Charleston International Airport at the moment, Dan, sweating my what's off.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Now, last thing here on the RamosLaw.com text line says, I'm a huge Marilat fan. I might be in the minority. Now, why would anybody, that's like when CJ came on the show and said, Dan, you're supposed to be a villain. Now, why would, I said, who? Who says I'm a villain? Why would anybody assume that they'd be in the minority if they were James?
Been to somebody at the, out and about or at the airport coming out to Charleston, and they'll be like, hey, love your takes. Don't always agree with you, but I get mostly positive reviews. So I think this is a false narrative out there, Dan. I mean, in person, everybody's really nice. They're just not nice on Twitter. That's all.
That's right. All right, James Marilat, we'll have safe travels. We'll do it again. The most popular segment on Denver radio every single week is the James Marilat segment.
I always enjoy it, Dan. I'll talk to you next weekend.
All right, that's James Marilat. You want to react to him? Coming up next is your shot.
The countdown is on. Broncos training camp is less than a month away. Rookies report July 22nd. Veterans hit Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit on the 28th. Bo Nix is expected back at full speed. Sean Payton skipping joint practices to maximize every rep. And it all builds toward a season opener on Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. From camp battles to kickoff, Denver Sports has you covered. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303-LAW-4040, 303-LAW-4040. One of the stories we were talking about around the campfire last night, somehow we got on this conversation about, because I had, if you really go back a ways with me, I had the prison dog that kept biting people, and we had to deal with that. And my neighbor, or actually Phil's neighbor, he has a dog that's kind of the same way. And it's one of the interesting things. I'm a dog fan. So I'm not here to punish dog owners, but if you've been seriously injured by a dog bite, you need to call us at 303-LAW-4040. We have a lady right now that was just viciously attacked in the neighborhood and wound up in the hospital and having to have surgeries and all sorts of stuff like that. So we love animals. We're not here to, go out and just sue everybody in the world. But like, if you've been legitimately hurt by a dog bite or an animal situation, remember that number, 303-LAW-4040. That's 303-LAW-4040.
Legacy means tomorrow matters. Hi, folks. Dan Cicchini, Done Right Home Improvements. Tomorrow, next week, next month, 10 years from now, matters. My wife Susan and I started Done Right in our garage in 1985, and our family has always been focused on legacy. What we do, how we do it, how we treat people matters. As a result, we've grown to be one of the largest companies of our kind in Colorado, specializing in kitchens, baths, counters, floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. Here's our son, Todd.
Dad, doing what's right shapes all of our projects. Whether a first-class kitchen renovation, a turnkey bathroom remodel, a full-service basement finish, or new windows and doors. We'll wow you with your project, your experience, and with an 8% scheduling incentive and a special financing rate of 0% APR with 72 equal monthly payments. Now couldn't be a better time. Dad?
Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. You have our word, we'll treat you right at Done Right. Reserve your spot. Go to drhi.com. Thanks for listening.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The sounds of summer. They're great until they're not. Luckily, AutoZone has free battery testing and charging
Let me check that for you.
to help make a rough moment smooth. Don't miss the Celebrate Free event at AutoZone. Free products with select deals until July 27th. and free services every day. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that Honey Pepper Pimento Sandwich.
And that Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle-dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory, it's bold, it's flavorful.
Our faves are back. I thought, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Colorado, it's time to take our recycling to the next level. That's why Recycle-On Colorado is bringing you more curbside and drop-off service from peaks to prairies. Guidelines as clear as our skies, so you know what goes where. And the price? As free as gawking at Bighorns on I-70. You deserve a recycling system you can count on, like your puffiest winter coat. And we're here to give it to you. Learn more at recycleon.org/Colorado.
At Siltahar Motors, Ford and Lincoln employee pricing wraps up on July 6th. If it's been on your list, now's the time. You pay what Ford employees pay on hundreds of new vehicles. Thousands off sticker, no negotiating. The price is the price. Employee pricing won't last, but Siltahar always has something great coming. 66 years of finding ways to take care of Colorado. See all that is available at sthmotors.com, Highway 36 and Wadsworth. Siltahar Motors. Get everything you want out of a dealership.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports 105.
Else says, but the dog didn't bark, Your Honor? Yeah, I don't know what you're referencing there, but I do want to be clear on this because we really do love animals and we want to be fair. So, for example, we got a call from somebody and they bought a dog, and the dog was, from a shelter, and it had a certain breed in it that you got to watch out for, and this or that, and they brought the dog home, and they had kids in the house, and a little bit down the road, the dog bit their own kid, and they wanted to explore going after the rescue. I'm like, I'm not saying you don't have a case. That's not a case I want to be a part of. But maybe they had a case, but like in legitimate situations where you're minding your own business and you're going down the road, or walking down, what normally happens is you're kind of walking down the neighborhood and there's dogs out on the loose or they're not out under control, and then they do damage, and it's some very serious consequences. So if you're in that position, we were talking about the prison dog. Now, Sean, this was before your day. This may be, I don't want to call it the most expensive dog in history, because certain high-end dogs just cost a lot to begin with, but we got this rescue dog. And first off, he's one of those guys, tore everything up, everything in the house, right?
Yeah, he's just trying to get used to his surroundings. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, so, and this was when, we talk about on the show, like, I'm pretty much a universally beloved person now in these circles, in this community. But back then I had more of that James Merilatt flair, where it was a lot of, people, I can't believe this Jacobs guy. So there were people that would actively take delight in any misfortune that may fall upon me. And I was filling in for Sandy Clough, who was doing the nights at that time. And I get a picture on my phone from my family. They text me. It's a picture of this dog at the bottom of my stairwell. He's completely destroyed all the carpet, all the padding, everything on the main level of the house. I'm like, oh my God. So now, because I know what that means is we're not just putting in new carpet. We got to put in, because we had said we wanted to put in a different type of floor if we ever had to, and that was going to have to go throughout the entire level. And so I knew it was going to be thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. I said, so if you are a Dan Jacobs Show hater, this is your night, because I'm literally hemorrhaging money on the air. And people took delight in that. Well, then the dog started biting people, biting kids. The dog can't bite kids. So I snuck the dog into the what is it called? The Colorado Cell Dog Program. Fantastic program. It's where the dog goes and lives in a prison cell with the inmates, and he gets trained for a couple months and this and that. We thought that might fix him. Came home, still had problems. Took him back to... By the way, they loved him at the prison. That's why I called him the prison dog. He got out at the prison, his tail's wagging. Everybody, there's like Stark, this and that, and yay! Like that was his home. I should have just left him there, but they wouldn't let me. So he gets out. He still has problems. I have to take him to a dog shrink, Sean. A doggy shrink. And we had to medicate him and this and that. And even the shrink was like, I don't know if this dog's going to make it, man. So, yeah, that dog cost me a lot of money. But I still love dogs. But if he had seriously hurt anybody, we'd have a big issue. And I of course,
do you still have this same pooch today?
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay,
hey, my parents died when I was 10, Sean. You want to talk about that too?
No, sir, I do not.
Oh, okay. I'm just kidding you. Remember, get in the mix on the Champ Honda YouTube chat. Love to see you check in, even if you just want to watch the show. You're in the garage tinkering around. I alluded to this in the first segment. I'm curious as to how things went for everybody last night. I took a peek on the socials and a lot of inner neighborhood warring going on because, there's always kind of the debate like, hey, should we stop the fireworks at a certain hour? And the drunkards, they're not stopping. All right.
Dan, I got to be honest, Dan. I was the guy last night, and I feel like I'm over 40 now because I was sitting in the window looking at the kids pop fireworks in my cul-de-sac, and I was mad at the parents for letting the kids pop the fireworks first, being the ones that light the big stuff off in the first place. Right. And this is a closed-in area, so I'm wondering, where does the debris go? Well, the debris goes all over my driveway and all over my roof, and so I was that guy that was really angry last night about the fireworks, more or less than anything. I'm against fireworks being done by locals from this point forward.
Yeah, I've always been kind of fireworks at this point. I'm a little over them. Like, they're nice, but has their day come and gone? I think James or some other guys talk about, well, it's like the parade. I don't know, man. Like,
have we had a parade on 4th of July in Denver in the last 10 years?
I'm sure somewhere they do.
I mean, they probably have one in like maybe Eagle, Colorado or something. But
well, so last year, Steamboat, in fact, in Steamboat, they do a drone show. They don't do fireworks anymore, but they do this parade and it just goes on and on and on forever. And I'm like, what is the point of this at some point? So certain things are great, that we have traditions, but maybe their time has passed. So you have this warring of people saying, hey, I don't want to be a jerk. I'm not a Karen, but I mean, it's 1 a.m. Can we stop? And then you have the drunkards jumping on going, this is America. And, oh, boo. And you've never broken a law in your life. We all break the law, so we should be able to do whatever we want. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm staying out of this.
Yeah, they stopped by 11 o'clock in my hood, so I was thankful for that. Right?
All night.
They stopped by 11 o'clock. They put it to rest. They did not pop fireworks like 2 days in advance. It was all within in the parameters. But with the land being as dry as it is right now, Dan, I don't see how popping fireworks is really feasible.
Yeah, no, I certainly don't recommend it. But people are going to do what they're going to do. Let's see here. Dan, I agree with the other texter. I love your show because you don't continue to beat a dead horse. I'm so sick of hearing about LeBron James. I could puke. Your show is a breath of fresh air. That's from Chef in Fort Collins. Well, thank you, Chef. Now, I will say this. I'm more than happy to beat a dead horse. So certain topics like the Broncos ownership trust, right? Because nobody else was talking about it. I talked about it at length. The PSL issue. I think it's an important issue that we talk about it now while there may be a chance to influence the public perception so the Broncos will take that into account. Although I think we hurt the cause. We had Jeff Wolf from Wolf Law, Colorado on, they've been season ticket holders since the second year of the franchise. And I put him on the spot. I said, well, does it matter how expensive the PSLs are? And he basically said he wasn't prepared to answer the question because we had him on to talk about the Jonathan Cooper thing. But he basically said, yeah, as long as the financing terms are favorable enough, I'm not giving up my tickets. I'm like, well, that's not encouraging Because most of the people I talk to that have season tickets, they say, nah, dude, once they gouge us, we're out. But, Jeff's like, no, we'll probably stay.
There's a lot of people that's probably like Jeff, though. They're like loyal to the soil type of vibes.
Right. So, I'm more than happy to beat certain issues. The dead horse, I probably am a little guilty of that. The Cortland Sutton contract, Jamal Murray not being, consistent enough, or at this point, you're keeping Jamal to rob Nicola of a chance at legitimate all-time top 10 status. So there are certain things that I do, I say my piece on over and over again, but I do try and do the show a little bit different. And Sean, it's one of the reasons I like you. You add a different flair that I just can't bring to the table, to the show. And I know fans are warming to that. So yeah, we do try and do a little bit different stuff here on the Dan Jacobs Show. Sean, so coming up next. Oh yeah, a little highlights from the party last night, where I at some point I was like, hey man, am I working right now? I can't help myself. We'll get into that next.
Colton, Drury, and Nichushkin all gone. New faces are already in the fold, with the entire blue line back as well after a Western Conference final sweep that still stings. How will the Avs retool around McKinnon for another cup run? Every trade, every signing, every take. Denver Sports has you covered all summer long. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. I was so, I left the show yesterday and I just went home. And actually, I got to work. I got my Deer Trail Meat Co. stuff out of the freezer and I made armadillo eggs and they looked delicious. I didn't try them, but I was pretty pleased with the way they came out. All that sausage and bacon and stuff like that. It's so nice when you have ingredients on hand that aren't going to cost you an arm and a leg. And that's what happens with DeerTrailMeatCo.com. First off, it keeps you out of the store. I went to the store recently for something, and I didn't want to do a whole lot, and I wound up, it was $160. That's brutal. That's because when I get in there, I'm like, oh, we need this, we need that. But if I hadn't gone to the store at all, I would have saved that money. So that's one of the ways you save with DeerTrailMeatCo.com. It keeps you out of the store. The second way is you're paying as little as much as 75% less for their product, depending on the bundle that you get, as opposed to the grocery store. So tremendous savings that way. They deliver it to your front door with a money-back guarantee. You can't beat that. You will thank me for it. Go to DeerTrailMeatCo.com, DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
On BritBox, there is a place where stories twist like cobblestone roads, grand manners hide secrets, and stakes are higher than seaside cliffs. Find places worth getting lost in on BritBox. Watch new series like The Other Bennett Sister from the world of Jane Austen and A Woman of Substance starring Golden Globe winner Brenda Blethyn. If you want to get away, you're in the right place. Stream the best of British TV on BritBox. Free trial at BritBox.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
Don't care for my local hometown team, ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Don't get fooled by out-of-state private equity corporations that are buying local HVAC companies, offering higher prices, bad service, and shady sales tactics. Don't trust your home to someone out of state when you have the best company right here in town. ROX are experts in local energy rebates and tax credits to save you money only at ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX Rocks Heating and Air.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores.
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Smoke Daddy, Pellet Pro. Never seen one of those. Good on you, man. Love it. I love it. We got to get Justin Adams and Mike Rice. They were talking about their grill. They don't have smokers. It's like, come on, man. At least get a pellet smoker. It'll change your life. So last night I was over, I was whining on the show probably, I don't know. Well, so I did Thursday and Friday. I was probably whining on Friday. Dude, my week's all screwed up now because
holiday season.
Holiday, which is weird because the holiday was on a Saturday. Like, why did this happen? But so anyway, my head was spinning, but so I was probably whining. Woe is me. I have no place to go because my lovely wife, Kimberly, and the rest of the girls are up in, Steamboat. And so I got an invite. It's not like Von Miller. I'm not hanging out with that, but I was hanging out with these well-to-do folks. Like I was over at the Pellini Mansion, and his neighbor came over, and Phil lives in that neighborhood, so Phil's this guy's neighbor, and this guy's holding court. Like he's putting on a show. This guy. What he said was, because he's friends with JJ and Kathy J and all that, and he knows I'm on the air. He's like, hey man, you talk about me on the air.
Phil said that?
No, this is Phil's neighbor.
Oh, okay.
And so he's going on, and he's just regaling us with all of his stories and this and that, he's having some cocktails, whatever, and he gets a little looser, towards the end of the night, and he starts talking. So Phil is his neighbor, right? And now I think a little bit of it is he's in a hard spot because I don't want to say jealousy, but a little bit of. He's got this guy. Phil's 32 years old, and he's got the life this guy took him all of his life to build. He's 50. He's like, I'm 50. I worked hard to get here. Not that Phil didn't, but I got this guy next door chirping over the fence at me, and this and that. Because Phil, I was talking to Mike, like Phil is still finding a way, even though he's been retired for a while now, to get under that competitor's skin in his everyday life. So he's in a competition now with his neighbor, and his neighbor has the show home. It was the show home for the neighborhood. I've never been inside. I've had to drive over there from my house to drop up my daughter. Sometimes babysits for this young man, and apparently has wings. He's like, well, the maid cleans this wing of the house, but not that way, something like that. I'm like, wow, man, must be nice. Your house has like separate wings. It's like the White House or whatever. So he's telling me about all this rich folk stuff. And so I'm just soaking it up. I'm like, oh, this is nice, But so he's got Bill moving in next door. And so he has the show home with an east wing, a north wing, a south wing, whatever it is. And he's got the prime lot and the yard. And he's one of those, he's like Schlereth, proud of my yard guy.
They say you got to have a pristine yard when you got the show house, right? I mean, your yard has to look like botanical gardens.
That's what this guy, that's his philosophy. Well, Phil is like, I'm going to one-up you. But Phil's not like Mark Schlereth. Phil's like, I'm going to one-up you. So next thing you know, Phil's yard is just unbelievable. It's just lush, gorgeous, like you said, botanical gardens. And the neighbor knows Phil just called up whoever and was like, yo, I got the scratch, just come out and make my yard outshine the neighbor. And then there's some controversy because all of a sudden, now that there's in this competition, this guy's yard all of a sudden got mites and just died. It's just dead. So now it's the worst yard in the neighborhood. And Phil's across the street or across the fence peacocking around like, ha ha, I got you. And he's like, that's cheating, man. And Phil's like, hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So this guy's like having to wrestle with his midlife, I don't want to say crisis, but then he's got the young, peacock neighbor that's, not half his age, but there with, living the life, so to speak.
Yeah, those guys going back and forth about whose yard is better is kind of crazy at a 4th of July event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it was cool. And by the way, Phil was not there. It was just a part of the conversation. I just thought it was funny, that he still, and you could tell Phil just kind of, because that was the way Phil was, right? Phil was very, at least my perception as a fan, is that Phil was very frustrating to compete against as a competitor.
Because he's a chippy guy. He came through the back door.
And he's little.
He's chippy.
He was hard to find, but he ran tough. He didn't run like, he ran hard, but he was still quick, and he was. There wasn't a lot of mass to wrap your arms around because he was just slippery. And I think he was frustrating to play as, and I think he's continuing that. And which, by the way, is what I like now about, I think what are they, year 3 going into year 4 of the drive is the way he's really committed to getting under Zach Bye's skin.
Yeah, I listen to those guys, and I'm wondering, I'm like, man, are these guys beefing on the low? Like, I mean, because their opinions on certain things, they go back and forth, and I don't know who. I can't really declare a winner because it's like really great debate.
Yeah, no, I like it. He's really pushing back on Zach now, so it's good stuff. But the funny thing happened, and that's when I finally had to get up and leave. So this guy's talking, and again, he runs in some pretty deep circles. So he runs from time to time, not every day, but he runs with the Cronkies. And so he starts talking about the Cronkies, and I don't want to get too deep into what he was saying. I don't want to, betray any confidences, but he had one opinion about, the Cronkies being cheap. But then he started to say, but, all they do is win. I said, and that's what I took issue with, because I was talking about on the show yesterday. I don't really consider, in fact, James kind of backed it up too, right? Like James was an executive working under the Cronkies. And he said they were not told to be the cheapest team in the league. They're not going to overspend. And the Cronkies, as far as the roster itself, I'm not talking about executives or coaches or whatever, but as far as the roster itself, they always spend everything they're allowed to spend. And sometimes they even spend a little tiny bit more. So I don't think they're cheap from that perspective. I did take issue with the characterization, though, that all they do is win. And I'm like, well, that's not really true. That's not all they do is win. It's true that they win sometimes. Sometimes they do win. Like he's had 80-some attempts, and he's got 4 championships. He's got essentially a championship in each sport, and if we're being fair, you really got to give him credit for 2 championships with the Avalanche, even though he took over a championship team and, they just won the cup his first year. It still counts. He was still the owner. He still wrote the checks. But, 4 out of 80 is a far cry, or 80 something, right? 4 out of that many chances is not all they. Who's had a better last decade? And I'm like, well, yeah, he's on a really good run right now. But let's not whitewash history, and they've had some pretty bad times. In fact, the worst times in Avalanche history have come under Stan Kroenke, and some of the best times, not the best times, but one really good year has come under that. So I'm not here to bash them and not give them credit. This guy and I, we start going at it. Friendly. We're doing sports talk radio on the porch, and it's like 11 something at night. I'm like, you know what? I got to do this for the listeners tomorrow, for the jury tomorrow. Well, I got to go.
Yeah, you were giving away the content, Dan.
Yeah,
giving away the content.
But it was fun, and that's what it's like. Like, we do this, we talk, we do it whether we're here getting paid or not. So that was fun. All right, so check in with us 1 hour down of the Easy Like Sunday morning edition of the Dan Jacobs Show. Gotten a few pictures on the RamosLaw.com text line. Also on the Champ Honda YouTube chat. No Kmart, which I'm wondering, is that like a shot at Kenyon Martin? Is that your handle? No Kmart. LeBron James and Jokic on the same team is like the Nuggets playing chess and everyone else playing checkers. And also, flopping is a strategic aspect of sports. It's not the most fun thing to watch, but it's just the reality of what the sports have become. Well, you're right in that it is a part of sports, but it shouldn't be, and it does not have to be. If what you're suggesting is that we have to allow flopping, I would push back on that. We don't have to allow flopping.
At all. Flopping's no. Dan, let me ask you something before we go to break. Now, Jaylen Brown was on he was on notice complaining about the flopping in the NBA after they had just blew a 3-1 series lead to the Philadelphia 76ers, and then he ends up getting traded to the same team that he was complaining about being the floppers.
I know.
How do you think that goes in that locker room?
Oh, water under the bridge. Oh, it's just competitors, stuff like that. Yeah, no big deal. Like, especially now in today's society, nobody ever – people talk smack all the time, and then they just pretend it didn't happen.
You don't think Embiid and Brown had a conversation when he came into the locker room?
I have no idea. What do you think?
I think, after what I seen on the court, the clips that I seen, we got to have a conversation before we could even let a ball go in the air. We got to talk.
All right, so 1 hour down. Coming up next, shame on you, Zach Bye. The fear-mongering, and by the way, I bought a hook, line, and sinker too. We're all just been scared to death about the Denver Nuggets. And as Mike Rice pointed out, and my buddy Dave Cohen pointed out to me, there's no reason to panic for the Denver Nuggets. There's a reason to be disappointed, but it's not quite as bad as one Mr. Bye has led us to believe. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Rockies aren't winning the West, but they might be one of the most fun teams in baseball now. Rookie T.J. Rumfield is raking. Hunter Goodman's launching homers at a rate that has all-star voters and trade deadline scouts paying attention. Mickey Moniak is back healthy, and Senzatella's having a career year out of the bullpen. The trade deadline's August 3rd. Who stays? Who goes? What's the new front office building toward? DenverSports is all over it. DenverSports 104.3. The Fan.
It's no secret that the checkout line feels a lot heavier. If those daily essentials are ending up on a credit card, those double-digit interest rates are quietly draining your bank account. If that debt is starting to feel heavy, you're not alone. And if you're a homeowner, you've likely looked at your mortgage rate and thought, I can't touch that. With American Financing's Smart Equity Loan, you don't have to. It allows you to wipe out high-interest debt and lower your monthly overhead while keeping your primary mortgage intact. It's a surgical strike against debt. Unlike a fluctuating HELOC, the Smart Equity Loan is a fixed-rate loan, giving you a predictable monthly payment. At American Financing, there are never any upfront fees to find out what you qualify for. Guys, talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant today. Experts who are paid to help you save, not sell you more than you need. So call them at 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Walk into the back office of most small businesses and you'll see an old DVR humming on a shelf and a camera over the register the owner isn't even sure is recording. They got that like 10 years ago, and the company that installed it doesn't pick up. Vantage can repair or replace all of it. Cameras that read a face in the dark. Access control, network, intercom, AV. One company, one number. Invest in real security for your business or property. Call Vantage at 720-366-7759 or visit business.vssicolorado.com today.
If you're practicing real estate in Denver but still not getting the results you want, listen up. Agents who are winning in this market aren't guessing. They've got the right training, the right systems, and the right support. And that's exactly what you get at Weichert Realtors Professionals. Proven strategies to win more listings, technology that keeps you connected anywhere, and coaching that actually helps you close. Take your business to the next level. Call Tim Davis at Weichert Realtors Professionals at 303-302-4000. Each Weichert franchised office is independently owned and operated.
This is Todd Whalen, founder of Advanced Tax Solutions. I'm here with Larry. The IRS is really hounding you. It's escalating. They even assigned a person to your case.
Saying that we owed a bunch of money because of clerical error. We didn't know that at the time. They were going to collect a bunch of money for it.
They're literally just beating you up.
Oh, yeah. Certified mail letters coming and the IRS telling us they're going to levy our checking accounts. And then, when the guy shows up at your front door, you figure, we better do something.
Yeah. How much did you really have to pay them?
It started out the IRS telling us that we owed them $15,000.
That's real money.
By the time Advanced Tax Solutions got done, the number was zero.
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 That's the perfect solution, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's the best number. Our stress is gone. we're not dealing with the IRS anymore. We haven't since we went and met with Advanced Tax Solutions.
Thank you so much for coming in. That just means so much to me.
Not a problem.
Every situation is different. And if we can give you a hand, it's 303-753-6040 or jump online at advancedtaxsolutions.com.
Hey, Robbie and Dino here at BeatTheDA.com. I've handled about 7,000 cases, over 300 trials. Man, I see so many bad stops on these DUIs, unlawful arrests, the police putting body cams off. The evidence is sketchy. We got to go get the evidence. We go find those cameras, the stores, the ATMs, the banks. We got the experts to challenge their breath tests, their blood tests. My office has over 100 years experience at this stuff. Hit me up at BeatTheDA.com or 720-706-5151.
The best appliance deals this 4th of July are at Mountain High Appliances Clearance Center. Hi, I'm Brad Barnett, president and founder. Visit our clearance center and save up to 70% on discontinued floor model and scratch and dent appliances from brands like Bosch, GE, Sub-Zero, Genair, and many more. Inventory changes daily. Come see what's new. You can even shop our clearance center online. The Mountain High Appliance Clearance Center, where smart shoppers save every day.
Mountain High Appliance, your favorite appliance store.
Thank you.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You are listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs.
All right, hour number 2 of the Dan Jacobs Show. So, on the RamosWell.com text line, it says, Dan, I think you're being a little too literal with the all they do is win comment. There are entire franchises, let alone owners, that have never won a single championship in a single league. The Rockies have done exceptionally well in every league they've dipped their proverbial toe into. What do you mean I'm taking it too literal?
No, I think he's saying the person that made the quote.
No, he's saying that you can say all they do is win. All I do is win, 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 win.
No matter what.
And but I shouldn't take that to mean what you're saying. I don't take it to mean, well, they win a championship every single season. I'm not taking it that literally. But 4 for 80-something is not all you do is win. And it's weird because this guy last night was making the same argument that Chad Andrus likes to have with me when he's trying to argue how great the Kroenkes are. I understand they're not the worst owners in sports. I understand that. But they go, well, what about the Jets? The Jets have never won. I don't want to be a Jets fan. I'm a Nugget fan. I'm an Avalanche fan. And when we have all-time top 10 players, I want them to win championships like other all-time 10 championship players. And the Kroenkes have failed to deliver that, despite having some of the best players to ever play in these sports. So no, I don't just say because they're not the worst ever that all they do is win. You can't just, that's one of my things that drives me crazy now. Like this war, you kind of brought it up before. Oh, what were you saying before the break about, is he going to be mad that he said this about this guy before? Like it happens like right now in the political landscape, which I'm not going to get into, it happens all the time. Like you say one thing and it means nothing. Here's the popular thing to do now, and I'm going to bust Zach Bye on this. Zach Bye this week, he's doing the same thing that James Merilatt tries to do sometimes, or I don't want to throw anybody's names out there because I don't want to, if they don't think they said it, they'll say that I'm disparaging them. But this notion that, here's what Zach says. Well, I think this is going to happen. But if I get new information, I reserve the right to change my opinion. Okay, but right now your analysis is this, and just because something shakes out different doesn't mean you get to escape accountability for your opinions, your actions. And you can't just say, well, I have new information. No, like your analysis was wrong, right? Like all these guys that make predictions and they don't pan out and they kill the team. It's like, well, where were you then? So you don't just get to say, well, I got new information. So my, analysis has changed and my opinion, whatever. Like you're just ducking accountability. And it really, kind of drives me crazy. And so they come up with this Kroenke thing. It's a weird kind of word salad argument of, well, name another owner that's done better. Oh, well, I don't know. Let's just off the top of my head, let's say Robert Kraft. 6 championships. Pretty hard to do. Because winning is hard. Winning is hard. That's true. What also is true is when you have all-time great players like Makar, McKinnon, Jokic, that those types of players have all in history won. By the way, it's usually not even just two. Like Wilt's the only one that only has two. Multiple, 3 to 11 championships, for example, in the NBA. And so what they say is, that's different. That's just one sport. Yeah, but he's got 6 rings. And so then they backtrack this guy last night. Well, but yeah, you had Tom Brady. Okay. But you have Nikola Jokic. You have Cale Makar. Like, look at what the Avs have had. Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, Val Nichushkin, Nazem Kadri, Nate McKinnon, all these guys. And they fall short. So all they do is win. I understand you can't be literal and say, well, why doesn't he have 75 championships and 80 attempts? But 4 out of around 80 attempts, that's not that impressive. You say, well, they've done really well in every sport. By really well, you mean they have a championship in the teams he owns. But for some reason, they want to discount. They want to say they're so great, and then immediately you can give them ownership that does better. And then they come up with all these excuses. Well, yeah, but they don't have this, so they don't have that, or he's doing it. Well, yeah, you're one of the very few people on the earth that has the money to own multiple teams. And I'm sorry, I respect James was talking about this earlier. I respect a guy like Pat Bowlen who didn't have nearly the money, but said, I will do everything I can to empower my people to win and give them every resource. And they're passionate, and they viewed it. You want to know why Pat Bowlen created the trust? He was skiing that ownership trust that sadly turned out to be a disaster. He was skiing one time many years ago, and he had a very serious accident, and he wound up in the hospital. And he realized he didn't have a plan. Like, if something happened to him, it would be in trouble. And the driving force to him was, he says, we're kind of the caretakers of this beloved, treasure of the city. And it's not just me making money or a living. It's really, we mean so much to so many people as the Denver Broncos. I want to make sure they don't fall into chaos if something seriously happens to me. And so he came up with the trust, and it didn't work out that well. But that's what was driving him. The Cronkies, from what I can tell, they do not operate under the same thing. They operate under, hey, man, this is a business. There are assets, and the fans are there as leverage. And we'll consider them from a monetary and business model perspective, but we don't really consider the fans' feelings in regards to our business decisions unless we think it's going to cast to the majority of the fans of the respective franchises. They did the calculation, right? That's it. They're like, well, we don't care. Like, we don't care if the fans get to see Nicola's prime or Nate's prime or Makar's prime. It's, so what? If it's not affecting our bottom line enough, we're not going to care. So I respect a Pat Bowlen approach way more than I expect a Kroenke approach. Now, I will say this, so I want to read another text here. It says, hey, the Nuggets went for it. Like John Elway said, plan B, we have no plan B. The Nuggets got Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway on paper. They look great. All the national pundits were on board with what the Nuggets did. It just didn't work out. That's true. I thought they would be better. Turns out they were worse. The problem, though, is they were not able to do the evaluation. Why is it that when Tim Hardaway and Cam Johnson and Bruce Brown got here, now Hardaway had a nice regular season but disappeared in the playoffs. But why did those guys all turn into the rest of the Nuggets, except for Nikola Jokic? And by the rest of the Nuggets, I mean fall short, disappear in the playoffs, and get embarrassed. Like, why would this team get worse the more money they spent and the better players they brought in? Because there's a cultural issue there. And the number one thing that you have to look at is, and I've been saying this for years, is they thought, well, if we bring in these other guys, we can get off the fact that Jamal Murray is killing us. as the number 2. He's just killing us. And so they thought maybe they could Band-Aid this thing and get around that fact. And the sad reality is it's not going to happen. And that's their job, is to have people in place that can make that evaluation. And they just simply refuse to do it. That's why it was blood boiling when I go to DenverSports.com and I see that, hey, they actually might have been able to get Jaylen Brown, but they had to protect Murray. Like, dude, come on. You're killing me. So to this texter's point, and maybe to the guy I was arguing with last night or Chad, I'm not saying they're the worst. But don't give me this, all they do is win and nobody can do what they do and this and that. No, man. Like, they're solid. They're not the worst owners in sports, but that does not mean they're the best owners in sports.
I'd almost argue, Dan, that they don't really have anything to do with the winning culture in those locker rooms at all.
I would think that would be unfair because they do have some. Like, they pay them, they empower them to a certain point. I don't expect. I kind of do Josh Kroenke, right? Because he fashions himself a basketball guy. He made a joke about how he gets votes for executive of the year. He's an executive. Like, his evaluation for Jamal Murray is just wrong. It's just, and it's killing them. It's just like George Payton. Around the league, the word was out on Russell Wilson. The word was out. and certain, behind the scenes, certain people said, dude, if you would have just picked up the phone, George, we would have told you this, that Russell Wilson can't play. Like, they've been masking his deficiencies for several years now. And there was a reason why Pete Carroll and those guys couldn't wait to get rid of him. And in fact, got better once he left, and the Broncos got damaged goods. Now, you could say, well, all of us didn't know that, which is true. This is not a drill. Most people thought, well, this has got to be a good thing because we didn't know any better. But we're not professional talent evaluators in the NFL in charge of a $5 billion organization like George Payton was. He should have known that. But to say, well, the Kroenkes don't get any of the credit, well, of course they get the credit. They pay the bills. I mean, is that fair, Sean?
I think that it's fair that they get the praise for being executives. If Mr. Kroenke wants to be noticed as a great executive for making certain moves, then you also have to take the scrutiny that comes along with that. And part of the scrutiny that I want to dive into, and maybe this might just give a little bit of clarity to why the Avalanche have fallen short the last few years. You still got them practicing in a family fun center. Let's get to that.
Here we go again. Go ahead. Here we go again.
Yeah, because if you talk about player empowerment and you're treating me right and you're making sure that you're paying me real top dollar, and it's been shown with the way he's handled Jamal Murray. He's handed him max contracts, even though the fan base doesn't believe that he's the guy to lead them to another championship. They've doubled down on him. They doubled down on Aaron Gordon. But when we switch it back over to the Avalanche, if you're paying these guys to be millionaires, but all the perks and benefits of an NHL team that you're supposed to have, the Avalanche don't have that, and they've already been in title contention, won President Cup trophies during the season. Like, these guys have given you relevancy, the players that is, and so it's about time that the Kroenkes show a little bit more love to the franchise with upgrading those facilities.
See, and a lot of people feel that way. In fact, my buddy Mark Hunke was texting me yesterday about players come here, players in the NHL. And by the way, as a whole, players, we've heard time and time again from all the former athletes that have, worked here on the station. Players don't decide where to go based on facilities or reputations. Like, they go for the money first. And if the Chargers are going to offer you $20 million a year and the Broncos are going to offer you $13 million a year, even though the Chargers have a horrible reputation and they probably don't have the best facilities, you're going to the Chargers. And in the Avalanche's case, they're lucky to be getting paid what they get paid. The NHL, I don't want to infuriate hockey fan, but the NHL is it's on the fringes. It's not a cash cow like the NFL or maybe even the NBA and even MLB. They're still doing really, really well for some reason, even though they're kind of professional wrestling. Like the NHL struggles, right? Like we just had an NHL team have to leave one city to go to the other because it just wasn't financially viable in a market. Every once in a while you'll see that in the NFL, but not very often. They're lucky to be doing what they're doing. Nathan McKinnon is lucky to be making $12.5 million a year playing hockey. I don't care if he is, playing in, the Taj Mahal of practice facilities. So I understand that when Kroenke, does the analysis and says, well, what do I get out of that? What do I get out of building them a $2 million, actually, I don't know, $5 or $10 million state-of-the-art facility? Why can't they just, I still hire league standard trainers and they have all, the best meals and they fly on a chartered plane and they get all the perks. I don't care if a guy can go into family sports, hit a bucket of balls, go play laser tag, grab some nachos and go, hey, look, the Avalanche are practicing, and go sit in the risers and watch the Avalanche. It just doesn't matter to me that much. If Stan Kroenke's not embarrassed by it, what do I care? I don't need to set this dude's money on fire, Sean.
Well, Dan, here goes the thing, right? The Arizona Cardinals struggle in getting big free agency signings because the owner is cutting corners and he makes his players pay for their own meals at the facility.
Yeah, that's very cheap.
And that's the same thing that the Kroenkes are doing to the Avalanche. That's the reason why they're falling short. Nobody wants to talk about that elephant in the room, but I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I just the Cardinals. Yeah, you're right. Nobody wants to play for the Cardinals, but if the Cardinals offer the most money, then they're going to go play for the Cardinals. The problem is, I don't know, like Tom Brady was never going to, Peyton Manning, those guys, for example, quarterbacks, they're rarely become free agents. Yeah, of course you're not going to the Cardinals because you get to set your own market and then you get to decide what's best for you. Right? Like Tom Brady got to decide, hey, I'm going to get great money no matter where I go, but the Bucs are set up. They were one Tom Brady away from a championship, and they got that championship. But they're going to go for money, and the Avalanche, the NHL is not in a position where they're just drowning in cash. Even people are surprised. Even the Broncos under Pat Bowlen were not, even though the value of the franchise was great, they were not. They've always been widely considered cash poor. Like have to lay off an IT guy every now and then because they didn't have the money, or ask Tommy Nalen to defer his salary during a championship run because they didn't. I guess they didn't have the money in the bank account. So if it's that bad for one of the best franchises in the NFL not that long ago, what do you think it's like in the NHL? So why would it's just there's no return on my investment? I want my players to be happy. I think first class practice facilities. I've never heard them say that they've had bad trainers. We've heard that about the Broncos. We've heard that. Some people now are suggesting with the Nuggets, like, why do the Nuggets have so many soft tissue injuries? Well, maybe that is a training thing. I know they got Steve Hess was their longtime trainer, Jim Gillen before that. I don't know who I'll just be honest, I don't know who's in place there right now. I'm gonna criticize the Kroenkes when it's reasonable. Man, I just can't get on them. You don't get another man's pocket for things like that. Like what, he spends the money on the players and hockey in particular. Eric Johnson came out and said that, how can the Avalanche complain about anything? Like they pay all their guys. They pay their guys when they shouldn't pay guys. Sometimes they pay the wrong guys, but go look at their roster. Marty Netchus, Brock Nelson, Brett Kulak just got near a multi-year, near $4.5 million a year deal. He's making more than Bruce Brown made last year. Like, they pay guys. Like, they're committed to try and still win, but they have the same problem with the Nuggets. They just don't know how to get the chemistry right, to get the most out of their players, how to execute in those clutch moments. And so that's why it's not true that all they do is win. The Avalanche should have won 3 or 4 cups by now under Stan Kroenke if all they do is win. So it's not me just taking it too literal. It's just not true. It's not true to say that, I'm batting 44%, but all I do is make buckets. or hit home runs or whatever. Like, this is not true. So are they the worst owner in sports? No, but they're a far cry from this dominant sports juggernaut, because one story came out it was really just about how rich he is. Well, he's the most rich owner, and but there's very few people that have the type of money that can own this many teams. So, okay, in an era, we're in a new Gilded Age where a Broncos owner can be worth $50 billion 1 year, and 3 or 4 years later, he's worth $150 billion. So the rich are getting incredibly rich. He has no competition. Especially when the narrative is, we'll name somebody that's chances. That's what it means. When you say, Robert Kraft has 6 championships and, 30 attempts. I'm just guessing, right? That's a lot more impressive than Stan Kroenke having 4 in 80 attempts. Doesn't matter the sport. I'm sorry. I'm just not buying into that. So
I mean, he doesn't treat the Rams like that, right? The Rams obviously – they get a little bit more of a first-class treatment than I feel like the Avalanche is getting. I mean, the next thing you know, we'll be hearing that the Avalanche are catching Greyhound buses to
stop
games.
it.
Like,
now,
knock it off.
Okay, let's talk about that. Why do you think the Rams get the first-class treatment? Do you know how much money – he's smart, dude. This is how savage this guy is. Stan Kroenke is from the state of Missouri. He bought his hometown NFL team and said, I can't make no money in Missouri. And he takes them to L.A., where he builds SoFi, and all the money, the hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, the Rams deserve it. My guess is the most profitable thing that Stan Kroenke has done with the Avalanche, and maybe even the Nuggets, is it's not the teams. It's not, selling out and selling jerseys and selling media contracts. My guess is it was creating altitude. It was creating that network where somebody had counseled him. I think maybe it was Phil Anschutz, but counseled him and says, you don't just, because the model had always been, hey man, you just sell the rights to that, the Nuggets to Channel 2 for, $5 million a year and you're good to go. I don't know for certain, but there were reports where he was making $40 million a year in subscriber fees from altitude. I mean, it's crazy. You think the Avalanche bring in, their port, or $20 million a year if you split it in half? No chance. Especially if you listen to Josh Kroenke. Josh Kroenke says, we lose money on the Avalanche.
Even with them winning? Winning championships?
He said it after their championship. He said, we lose money on the Avalanche. Now, do I believe him? I don't really believe him, because when you have those many assets, you're always playing the tax game. You're shuffling. You charge yourself, it's
all tax write-offs.
Yeah, it's tax write-offs, or, shuffling money into different accounts and, whatever. Like he's charging himself, one company that he owns, and billing the Avalanche for it or whatever. Like, I don't believe all that, but they're certainly not as fat as the Rams. So the Rams, probably deserve it, Sean. Like, by the way, if the Avalanche, maybe they should play up to their expectations first.
I feel like the Rams have won as many championships and been just as relevant as the Avalanche have in the last 5 years, if we're being frank, right?
Right.
They've only got one championship apiece between both franchises.
But if the Avs want a better facility, how about not being the best team in hockey year after year and then flopping in the playoffs? How about not getting swept out of the Western Conference Finals? Like, not even winning a game against a team that nobody expected to be there, that made a coaching change before the playoffs, and then even fired that coach that got to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, how about you just don't do that before you cry me a river about how your $12.5 million isn't enough. You also have to be bougie too, right? Like, this guy at this party last night, he's like, I'm a simple man. I don't need much. And then he goes through his list of, I can't sit in the third level of a concert anymore. If your tickets aren't in the lower bowl, don't invite me. I'm too, I can't do that. I need my certain underwear for every day of the week. Blah blah. He kept saying two things, like, I'm a simple man, but then also, hey man, I'm simple, but all I need is this. And it was like, You are the most bougie guy I've met in a while, dude. Like, you are not a simple man.
He's a double standard.
Double standard guy.
Yeah.
I don't need a lot. I just need to fly first class, sit in the front row, have silk underwear, dress like Ric Flair, drink the finest whiskey, all this stuff. I'm like, dude, that ain't simple.
That's shiny. That's Sean type of stuff right there.
That's right. You would have got along with this guy just fine, I assure you. All right, so we good job bringing up that conversation. We'll get to some of your texts on that, and then we will get to coming up next. Let's do this. I want to give Mike Rice a little bit of a hard time. Is there a double standard for Nikola versus Carmelo? We'll break that down next.
The Nuggets summer is heating up, and the biggest questions are still on the table. Will Nikola Jokic sign an extension or keep Denver holding its breath? Could a blockbuster Jamal Murray trade reshape the roster? And with Payton Watson hitting restricted free agency, what does the core look like moving forward? Stay locked in. Denver Sports has you covered all offseason long. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303 Law 4040. 303 Law 4040. I want you to do yourself a favor. Did you know that your car insurance is not there? It's not designed to protect you. It's designed to protect or to compensate if you happen to hit somebody. So what happens if somebody hits you? Well, if you don't have the right coverages, then you will be up a creek because about 15% of the people out there on the roads right now don't have any insurance, and a lot of them have the minimum, which is $25,000. Well, what if you go to the hospital and you're seriously injured and your bills are $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000? You're out of luck unless you take a look at your coverages and see if you have med pay coverage. You want to have at least $5,000 of that. Some people have up to $25,000. I saw a lady, I checked her coverage when she came in the office the other day. She had $25,000 in coverage. Now, I know what you're going to say, Dan. Well, I can't afford that. You know what she paid for 6 months? $31. It was money well spent. Same thing with UM. You really got to make sure. I recommend at least $100,000, but yeah, at least 25. But again, pennies on the dollar. She paid $100 and some odd dollars. She had over $100,000 in coverage to protect her against the person that had minimums. So, and again, it's pennies on the dollar compared to what you're paying to protect the other person. Aren't you worth investing in yourself? So just check your coverages. And we do get calls all the time. I do these ads a couple times a year. People do call us just for the info. It's 303 Law 4040. We're happy to talk you through it. That's 303 Law 4040.
Don't miss the Tree Farm's Array of Tree Sale, now through July 14th. See what's on sale at thetreefarm.com. Choose from flowering trees, fruit trees, evergreen trees, trees for narrow spaces, windbreaks, and privacy screens. Or add color to your yard with ornamental trees, flowering shrubs, perennials, and more. The Array of Tree Sale, now through July 14th. Come see.
You take I-25 to exit 235, then 5 miles west to the Tree Farm.
Don't care for my local hometown team, ROX rocks heating and air. Don't get fooled by out-of-state private equity corporations that are buying local HVAC companies, offering higher prices, bad service, and shady sales tactics. Don't trust your home to someone out of state when you have the best company right here in town. ROX are experts in local energy rebates and tax credits to save you money only at ROX rocks heating and air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX rocks heating and air.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And right now, new mattresses start at $1,500 during our 4th of July sale. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life's sleep.
Progressive knows you could have easily taken the freeway, but you took the scenic route to see a waterfall and an oddly busy boiled peanut stand. Discovering the unexpected is exactly why you bought an RV, so protect it with a bundle from Progressive. Because although you may be 3 hours behind schedule, you're 6 jars of jam richer and possibly enrolled in a butter churning workshop. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Xfinity. And when it comes to your internet, you want the most intelligent. And that's what they provide. The most intelligent Wi-Fi that can hunt down and fix problems. Reliability, well, you want the most reliable Wi-Fi for streaming, gaming, working from home, and coverage that goes wall-to-wall in your home. How about security? Wi-Fi that's security blanket for your network and reliability. Fiber-powered network with 99.99% reliability, built for speed so you can run multiple devices at once, and Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home tie and work together. Consistency, you can lock in 5 years of predictability. 5 years, the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi with our best equipment. Plus, you can get online with minutes, same-day Wi-Fi. Hey man, that's the price lock guarantee. 5 years, same price, no contracts, no commitments. It's all included. Everything you need, including the data and equipment, the most reliable Wi-Fi. That's Xfinity, guys. Imagine that.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right. Remember, check us out on the Shop Honda YouTube chat line. I'm not curious about what this guy's talking about. He says, this is Jesse Owens. It is a talk show, Judge. You're going to need to share your opinion with what you know. I'll show what you're referring to there, Jesse. Let us know on the RamosLaw.com text line. This guy says, Dan is the guy in the front row of the DJ Khaled show, arguing with him when he sings, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. Dan, but also, Dan, you have been right on Jamal for years. No, I'm not the guy in the front row of the DJ Khaled show, because I would never go to a DJ Khaled show.
Another one.
Yeah. No, not another one. I've never been to one. I'm never going to one. I can promise you that. Not unless it's like an accident or something. I've been to a couple Pitbull concerts just because I was at a big event and they surprised us, and all of a sudden Pitbull came out, and I'm like, well, I didn't have this on my bingo card this morning. But absent something like that, I don't think I'm in danger of going to a DJ Khaled concert. Somebody else says the Rockies are the worst owners in sports. They are about to sell the Rapids' best prospect for $20 million, and the scoreboard has been broken for 6 years. I don't really believe that. The scoreboard really been broken for 6 years.
There might be some credence to that, but I'm gonna leave that where it's at.
All right. Mike says that wasn't George Payton. That was Joe Ellis. You will never convince me that Joe Ellis didn't tell them, if we don't get Aaron Rodgers, get Wilson so we can increase the value of the franchise.
Did Russell really give when he came here, did he give a jolt to the franchise with him signing here? Like, did you feel as if the Broncos were more valuable signing a big name at quarterback?
No. I think possibly maybe a little bit, but I think the more but let's be honest, the Broncos were not considered contenders when they were on the market. Like, they had been mired in a horrible streak as a franchise for a long, long time, and it was not going well. So no, I don't think so. What I think was there was a couple driving forces. Is first off, the brand loyalty. People love this team. It's an iconic franchise, an iconic brand. I think Ellis and those guys struggle to maximize the market value of the franchise, and savvy businessmen like the Walton Penner Group probably realized that. And then also, I'm shocked they actually didn't sell for more, because think about, it's not just the team, but think about the potential for revenue for the new stadium, which they knew they were going to need, right? They knew they were about 10 years away from needing a new stadium. And so not every franchise is like that. Like, if you buy your beloved Raiders, Sean Boyd, that money's already been made and spent, right? Same thing with the Niners. So to have the opportunity to be in on the ground floor and create your own $1 billion, treasure chest, multi-billion-dollar treasure chest, and to make all that money off the retail and the residential and all the real estate and stuff around that new stadium, I think that would have been highly attractive, particularly with a family that deals heavily in real estate. So I think that was probably the biggest driver on the value, the biggest drivers on the value of them. So
yeah, because I don't feel like they had that same mystique when they signed Joe Flacco, right? And they made him the starting quarterback.
No. Well, but we were still people, not me, but many people were still under the John Elway spell that they were just a Joe Flacco away. Joe Flacco was a Super Bowl winning MVP quarterback just now entering his prime, which we knew that wasn't true. The Ravens knew that. They don't just let guys like that walk out the door, which is essentially what they did. So they thought they were still delusional about that they were still contenders with Joe Flacco, which of course they were not. Now, I do want to pay off the tease. Mike Rice did a great job filling in this morning. Kyle and Cello. How do you know Kyle and Cello were on vacation? Well, it's a Sunday. Right? Because that's when their show is scheduled. I give them a hard time about that. But Mike Rice doing solo duty, yeoman's work. I gave him credit for, I thought he did a nice job in, we'll talk about it more a little bit, maybe next segment, about Zach Bye had us all scared to death about the salary cap with the Nuggets and this and that. And the fact that they're not making any moves has us all nervous and on edge. And Mike Rice did a nice job explaining part of that in the mathematics of the cap. So I appreciate him on that. But I did come in and I had his interest peaked. I said, but I'm gonna get on your bacon about something, and which was this. Alex, run the board for him, said, hey, what do you think if Nikola leaves? Do you think the fans will be upset with him or the organization? And here's what Mike had to say.
I don't know how fans, and again, it's a little presumptuous to try to speak for the fan base, but I don't know how fans could be upset with Jokic. I mean, he brought the Nuggets their first ever title. He has blossomed here. He has embraced the city. He has said that he wants to be in Denver for his entire career. He's done everything to be the right kind of player, person, superstar. Man, I mean, I pause because just the thought of Joker not being here, I don't want to go there, Alex. But I would think if people are going to point a finger, that it would be like, hey, I mean, the organization's got to figure out how to take advantage of having a player like that. And given the way Jokic has played, what he's achieved, and how he's conducted himself, I don't think the fans would have any ill towards Joker.
See, now, first off, what do you mean you can't blame him if he leaves? Mike was using part of his rationale as he said he wants to finish his career as a Denver Nugget. Well, you can't say that and then not blame him if he leaves, because the Nuggets have said, yes, we want you to be a Denver Nugget too. In fact, we're going to pay you the maximum amount possible the sport says we're allowed to pay. We offered it to you last year. We're offering it to you again this year. Please, Mr. Jokic, sign. So if he tucks tail and run, that's on him. And what do you mean you can't blame him? Of course you could blame him. And the reason I say it's a double standard is I was given James and I were talking about this both on Friday and today. Carmelo Anthony is not universally, but largely hated amongst the fan base with Denver Nuggets fans. They view him as a disloyal turncoat. Now, James is in the camp where it's a little bit of this revisionist history that, he was just not happy that they were going to rebuild. But, he's saying that now. But we all knew at the time he wanted to get out. Like LeBron was making moves and doing all sorts of innovative stuff. LeBron was changing the model where it became smart to not just go ahead and take whatever extension that you're offered because the one team can offer you the most, but no, to really weigh your options and to, by the way, not take maybe the first extension available, but wait, and to really make player decisions based on what's in the player's best interest, not just doing the tired old way of trying to get a max extension from your own team. Well, Carmelo came into that as well. A lot of people forget Carmelo did sign one extension, And then he just said, hey, man, I want to be like LeBron. I want to test the waters elsewhere. And he's vilified for it. Well, how would Nikola Jokic not signing his extension and either forcing a trade or just walking away to another team? By the way, Chad Andrus, I think, might feel that would be in Europe. Like you just want to go play in Europe, maybe. How would that be any different? Sean, I'll ask you, how would it be different that Nikola Jokic says, I want to be a Nugget forever, but then doesn't retire a Nugget when the Nuggets offered him the most money? Like, how does that make sense? Like, how is that different than Carmelo Anthony, just saying, hey, man, get what you can for me, but I got to go?
I think the difference is that Nikola was able to provide a championship, and that's the first things first, right? Melo had some good teams, but they were very they were lackluster when it counted, and that all goes back to him, the coach-player relationship. They didn't have a good one. Coach Carl and Melo, he didn't have a good relationship with J.R. Smith nor Kenyon Martin. So it was a bevy of things that led to that. Now with the Nuggets and today's Nuggets, we're looking at Nikola Jokic, which arguably is one of the top 10 best players in the NBA of all time and presently. But then you also look at where the franchise is going with two superstars on max deals. And if Jokic doesn't feel like it's about money at this point, more or less it's about him trying to win another championship. And that's where the fan base can't necessarily be mad at him. They just have to have a little bit of a understanding that this is a business first and he gets paid.
All right. So after I said all that, I just want people to know, and I revealed this on the show earlier this week, I do think there would be a double standard there. I think. By the way, I heap plenty of criticism on Carmelo. I think he gets unfairly criticized for the way that went down. But actually, I would be happy at this point for Nikola Jokic if he went somewhere else. I'll explain that coming up next.
The countdown is on. Broncos training camp is less than a month away. Rookies report July 22nd. Veterans hit Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit on the 28th. Bo Nix is expected back at full speed. Sean Payton skipping joint practices to maximize every rep. And it all builds toward a season opener on Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. From camp battles to kickoff, Denver Sports has you covered. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. I like to do on Sundays when my family's in town, I like to get up. I get some of those delicious DeerTrailMeatCo.com breakfast meats, and then the family wakes up, and I make some bacon. You put it. I like to make my bacon. You put a little foil on a cookie sheet, and you perfectly crisp it, and it's just it just melts. It's got a little crunch, but then it melts, and all that flavor. It's just delicious. And then the family wakes up in a good mood, and then you sometimes you do the sausage patties. You get a little good start to your day with some protein. It's all delicious. And I just love it. I love the fact that you can just have that there. You can just pick it out. It's right there. They're going to deliver it right to your front door. They're going to fill up your freezer, and they're going to offer a money-back guarantee. And that's a tremendous savings over what you're going to pay in the grocery store. Grocery bills are sky high right now. I told you earlier in the show, I went into the store for a few things. I walked out owing $164. Deer Trail will keep you out of the stores as well, and you buy the meat at a tremendous savings. Check them out, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
When you've thrown over 4,000 innings like I have, joint pain isn't a maybe, it's a guarantee. For you, was it climbing ladders or too much heavy lifting? Hey, we're all in the same boat. But surgery, that was never my answer.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens knows there's a better way. That's QC Kinetics regenerative treatments that help your body heal itself. No scalpels, no fake fixes, just real relief.
What I love about QC Kinetics, these are the most respected medical pros in the country that specialize in non-surgical therapies to get you moving again.
Don't mask the pain, fix it. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
I trusted QC Kinetics. You should too.
Call QC Kinetics today and schedule your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. 303-900-8986.
Hey, I'm not one to say I told you so, but
Do you remember last year when I told you that Pure Talk was hands down the best wireless company that I'd ever used? Well, some of you were skeptical, but Consumer Reports just asked 120,000 people to rate every wireless company in America, including the big boys. Well, guess which company was the only company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. Coverage, support, value, data. 5 stars across the board. No service contracts, no cancellation fees, just great U.S. customer service on a crazy fast 5G network for a fraction of what you've been paying. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I will encourage you one more time to dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and switch to a 5-star American wireless company that won't let you down. Pure Talk.
T-Mobile has an exclusive bundle for customers 55 and up.
I'm Sarah Bowl.
Yeah, I'm Frank Bowl.
A reliable network is key for us. And with T-Mobile, it's been wonderful. And going to the 55 plus plan saved us so much money.
A lot.
And that's important. Trying to keep costs down. The home internet's been perfect. It's fast, it's quick. The setup was so easy, it took less than 15 minutes.
It was like, ta-da! If you want simplicity, coverage, reliability, you want the whole package, T-Mobile has it.
Right now, T-Mobile customers 55 and up can get 2 phone lines on America's best network, plus America's fastest 5G home internet for just $30 each.
$30 per month each line with autopay plus taxes and fees. Minimum age 55. Pricing for home internet rely on 2 lines of Essentials Choice 55. $35 connection charge per line required. Best mobile network and fastest 5G home internet based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence data 2H 2025. All rights reserved.
Colorado, it's time to take our recycling to the next level. That's why Recyclon Colorado is bringing you more curbside and drop-off service from peaks to prairies. Guidelines as clear as our skies, so you know what goes where. And the price? As free as gawking at Bighorns on I-70. You deserve a recycling system you can count on, like your puffiest winter coat. And we're here to give it to you. Learn more at recyclon.org/Colorado.
Switching your account numbers is hard. Being forced to switch, even worse. That's why at Belco Credit Union, we want to pay you to switch. From June 1st to August 31st, we're offering a $300 bonus when you open a new checking account with a qualifying direct deposit of $500 or more. They changed your account number. You can change who you bank with. Go to belco.org/switch for full offer details. Insured by NCUA. Membership eligibility required. Conditions and restrictions apply. Belco. Banking for everyone.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
This is interesting. So we got a couple texts here on the Carmelo thing. Dan, this is why I don't like Carmelo anymore. During the victory parade celebrating the New York Knicks championship, Carmelo Anthony referred to the win as a collective victory, stating, "I like to say we all won. The whole city won. Every player who ever came through here." And citing sports.yahoo.com. I don't know, man. I really don't care what Carmelo says about the Knicks. Like, he got what he deserved.
See, because that's what it's really about. I think we have a sour taste in our mouth here in Denver, Colorado, because Melo, you left to go chase a championship, and you ain't win no championship. That's unethical.
Unethical? Well, you don't think he tried?
No, because he went after scoring titles. He didn't accomplish much doing that. I think even when he was with the Knicks, he made them relevant. He helped them be relevant. But I mean, they're one of America's teams, so it's not really hard to stand out on the Knicks. I mean, if they have a 40-win season, then all of a sudden they're on the verge of a championship. So
if we're honest about it, they actually were better without him. When he got hurt, Jeremy Lin came in, Linsanity.
Oh, my goodness.
They go on a run, and then as soon as he comes back or when he comes back, like, they fall off again. Like, that's bad, man. Like, when your team's better without you. And you hit it on the head. That's the problem I have with Carmelo. I really don't have a problem with the way he left. Somebody here on the text line says, it's not that Melo wanted out, it's how he handled it. Made Denver feel small and not important. Jokic loves Denver. Okay, where
does he really though?
Did I see? Yeah, did I see Nikola at brunch today? Like, interesting.
Has Jokic put on a camp out here for the kids?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would assume he does.
I mean, I haven't seen it.
Google it. Yeah, Google. I mean, he has to put on a camp, right? But he doesn't live here. He didn't even want to stay for the championship parade. He wants to get out of Denver as fast as he possibly can every offseason. He says he loves Denver, and I'll take him at his word, but I don't think that Carmelo, what did you want him to do? I went through today and tried to find quotes from when this was happening in real time. And he was pretty, I would say, gracious about it. He just wanted out. And he did not want to do the Nuggets dirty. He said, I don't want to leave you in a lurch. Go ahead and trade me. Get something for me. But all he said publicly was, I want to keep my options open. Now, there was this narrative that Lala and New York and this and that. Well, we know he did want to go to New York. I assume Lala did have something to do with that. But I don't think he trashed the city on the way out. My problem is more along the lines of what you were saying, Sean, just in general as a player. He's one of those players that got retired, didn't retire, right? Like he could have played many more years, but the league said, we're just done with this brand of selfish, pound the ball into the floor, kill the offense, shoot, mid-range jumper stuff. Like we've moved past your game, Carmelo. You're not a particularly good teammate. Because I've talked about this on the show, Sean. I don't know if you're aware of this. He would just tell the coaches, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not playing that position. I don't do that. No, I'm not going to play defense. I will. He just told, multiple coaches have told me this behind the scenes. He would just say no. George Karl would have to trick Carmelo Anthony into playing into the team concept. They'd lie to him about what position he was really playing. They would go to Linus Klesa and go, look, Carmelo has to think that he's playing this, so just let him believe that, even though you're really playing that in the offense.
Yes, he has a player that is just that is a bad indictment against any player. That's just as bad as Jamarcus Russell getting a fake DVD. They give it to him, tell him to go home and look at the plays and come back with your best 15.
Right.
And this guy comes back and says, oh, well, I looked at the DVD, and these are the things that I want to run. Well, the tape was blank, Jamarcus.
Yeah, I thought it was, something, cartoons or whatever.
No, the tape was blank. They told him to go watch film, and he lied.
Yeah. Somebody says, Melo made Denver cool. If you like the Nuggets prior to Melo, at least when I was young, were cool when I was a kid. I mean, that run, even though they didn't win a championship, that run with Mahmoud and Robert Pack and
Brian
Alfonso
Stith.
Ellis, Brian Stith, Mutombo, Brian Williams / Bison Dele. Man, that was magical. John Elway hammered drunk, grabbing the mic. Let's get ready to Mutombo, and just beating George Karl and the Sonics in an improbable fashion. To me, that's the most magical time in Nuggets history. And I know they didn't win a championship, but
see, Dan, that text is right. The Nuggets they had more relevance without a championship with Melo playing, selfish basketball more or less than Jokic playing, this get the rest of the offense incorporated basketball and being a leader. But the guy does not put on a camp here in Denver. He spends his off seasons resting and playing for Serbia.
Okay.
So that may be a reason why it may not even really be that big of a deal if Jokic goes.
I don't want to be seeming like I'm doing a hit job on Jokic. I'm sure he's a nice guy. He's been an awesome player for the Nuggets. And what I actually talked about the other day was I just don't like the double standard. You can't let him leave on a free pass and then vilify Carmelo, because it's the same thing, only maybe even worse, because Carmelo, at least now, is trying to spin the narrative as that, well, I left because they were rebuilding and I didn't want that. Whereas Jokic can't really complain too much. They went all in for him last year. They went all in. He didn't get out of the first round. There's always an excuse for Nikola Jokic not going far in the playoffs. But right now, the Nuggets are way over. They're a eyelash away from the second apron. They got to make moves. And they did everything they thought they could last year, and the players fell short. This is what drives me nuts. We give these players a pass, a scapegoating. The Nuggets had really, really good players, and they were worse than this year before when they ran 6 deep 2 years ago and pushed the Thunder to the limit before bowing out. They were 9 deep this year, and they weren't as good a team. To me, it's just nuts. So he really can't say, well, they haven't done enough for me. If anything, he's failed because, and I don't want to be unfair to him because he's not your traditional superstar player. There's no other comp like him in the history of the league. He does things differently. He's not Michael or Kobe or Shaq or Larry or Magic. Like he's one of one. But at some point you have to say, dude, for an all-time great, you're falling short, and you can't always point the finger. And not that he does, but as fans, we kind of give it a pass, it's not his fault. Well, I don't know, man. Like, get your teammates to play better. The reason the Nuggets lose is culture, because mentally they get whipped in the playoffs almost every year, and it's culture-wise. It's not because they don't have enough talent. It's culture, and it's mentality, and it's chemistry, and he could certainly influence that. Now, I did say this. At this point, by the way, it is looking right now, LeBron probably going back to Cleveland. Very weird scenario for me. So let's just put that on the way back burner right now, LeBron. But absent that, if they're just going to run it back, which I don't think they're going to run it back exactly. In fact, I'll do this on the other side of this hour. I'll kind of lay out for you what I think is probably going to happen. I was giving Zach a hard time about the fear mongering, and it's not quite as bad as what Zach was getting to, but we'll get into that next, and also why, because this is the most likely thing. I'd be happier if Nikola could go put himself in a better situation and flourish and just have a really great finish to his career. I would actually be happy for him. We'll get into all that on the final hour of the Dan Jacobs Show coming up.
Colton, Drury, and Nichushkin all gone. New faces are already in the fold, with the entire blue line back as well after a Western Conference final sweep that still stings. How will the Avs retool around McKinnon for another cup run? Every trade, every signing, every take. Denver Sports has you covered all summer long. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Introducing Mine to Shine, the world's most personal diamond. Here's Shayna and Dylan Williams.
Come experience the most revolutionary and transparent way to buy a diamond.
Mine to Shine by Kwiat and Williams Jewelers. The natural diamonds cut, polished, and designed just for you.
First, we'll help you select a natural, conflict-free, and ethically mined diamond.
Then you select one of Kwiat's legendary shapes. Kwiat cushion, oval, radiant, emerald, or incredible Ashoka.
A wider, brighter, and larger looking diamond, cut to the world's highest standards.
Then trace the journey from rough stone to polished perfection by Kwiat's master cutters.
Perfectly cut for maximum brilliance. Simply brilliant.
Mine to Shine, the world's most personal diamond.
Only from Williams Jewelers of Inglewood, Colorado's exclusive Kwiat jeweler.
Where Colorado shines.
Williams Jewelers, we can make diamonds a part of your life. The official jeweler of the Colorado Avalanche. Williams Jewelers, where Colorado shines.
Well, Lorenzo, the pitch looked good.
Yeah, so green.
USA keeper was decent enough.
Didn't have much to do.
99 minutes.
Not a single goal. Well, Bet365 sure came through, though. I bet $10 and got $150 in bonus bets, just for signing up.
At least someone scored.
Bet365. Winning is everything. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Colorado. T's and C's apply. In-app only.
2026 is shaping up to be an amazing year to buy a home in Colorado. If you've been dreaming about getting into your first place, upgrading for more space, or downsizing for a simpler lifestyle, now is a smart time to start planning. And the first step is easy. Get pre-approved. With American Financing, you can get it done in 24 hours or less, so you'll know exactly what you can afford before you start shopping. Rates have been dropping. home prices are steady and more homes are hitting the market. You could score the right home at the right price and lock in a monthly payment that fits your budget without stretching yourself thin. And unlike renting, every payment you make goes toward your future, not your landlord's. And here's a misconception that they love to bust. You don't need 20% down. Many buyers purchase with as little as 3% down. So if home ownership is on your 2026 goals list, make it happen. Call American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at americanfinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
It's easy to find your groove. As America celebrates, Groove Toyota, the oldest family-owned Toyota dealership in the Denver metro, has more reasons to celebrate. Choose from hundreds of pre-owns, 40 under 15 grand. GrooveToyota.com. Plus, Groove Toyota has more than 100 used Toyotas, including Toyota Certifieds, with full warranties available. Hurry into our Red, White, and Drive event. Groove Toyota. Start here, go anywhere.
Offer expires 7/31/26. Not all will qualify. Restrictions apply. With approved credit call 720-961-4465 for complete details.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs.
All right. And by the way, I want to just follow up on that again. Overnight, because we got so excited. Zach just got so... I was listening live on the air to the drive. He goes, breaking news. And he started going on about how the odds for LeBron coming to Denver had changed dramatically throughout the course of Wednesday. And we were all excited. And I came in and filled in on Thursday. We all talked about it, and then it kind of died off. We talked a little bit on Friday and a little bit yesterday. We're just going to be in this, continual waiting game. Overnight, this news came out. There is, quote, growing belief amongst teams interested in LeBron James that the Cleveland Cavaliers have the, quote, scenario to beat for the 22-time All-Star, according to NBA insiders Mark Stein and Jake Fisher. So, not looking too promising. We got excited about it. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now, so what does that mean for the Nuggets? I like the way Mike Rice laid it out. I know I've been guilty of not being able to, because the NBA salary cap thing and the rules and the CBA, it's so hard. Once you think you have it figured out, then you realize that, there's this rule or that rule or the exception or blah, or this tier. Like, very hard to understand. And now, not that long ago, I was praising Zach By. Like, thank you, Zach, for doing a great job. He first brought this whole, catastrophic salary cap nightmare thing to our attention. And he was the first to do it, and I appreciate him for that. However, I call him now our fearmonger in chief. He's got us scared to death about Bo Nix's ankle. He had us scared to death about Cale Makar, although I'm sure Zach would say, well, I was right about Cale Makar. And now this salary tax situation. But it's not as bad as I think we once feared. In part because we thought, like, for example, my understanding was to avoid the repeater tax, they had to get under the cap. Well, that's not true, because they're like, they're going to be $100 million over the cap. Like, you can't just wipe away $100 million. But that's not true. I don't understand how the NBA, so the NBA has a cap. You have a salary cap. But then you could just go above the salary cap. I don't know what the repercussions are for just going over the salary cap, because let's say the salary cap's it's somewhere in the neighborhood of, 170 million, 168 million, something like that. But you can spend up to 200 million before you get into the tax territory. So what does it matter? Why isn't the cap just $200 million? I don't understand that part. But so when we're thinking they have to get under the cap to avoid the repeater tax, which is basically like a mini death penalty, well, that was worrisome. But my understanding now is, though, they don't have to get under the cap. They just have to be out of the luxury tax threshold. Well, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Now, right now, they are, I believe, $4 million away from the second apron. So they're firmly in the first apron, $4 million in the second apron. And I think they are away from the second apron. And they have, I want to say, around $215 million committed to next year right now, just with people they've signed. So they have to be under $200 million, and they're already over $200 million. And I think they only have like 7 players signed on the roster. So that's problematic because depending on your years of service in the league, at a minimum, they got to pay $2.5 million for every single one of those players. Some of those guys, if they have more service, more years of service, you got to pay $3 or $4 million. So just filling out your roster is probably going to be 10 or 15, $20 million, not including what you decide to do with Payton Watson. So with all that, you're saying, okay, well, you got to add another 10 or 15. Then you got to add another 20 or 30 for Payton Watson. That's what you're talking about with the Zach by doomsday scenario, where they would end up owing, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $246 million in tax on top of their payroll. And I would not recommend they do that. But here's the good news. They don't have to get that under 165 or whatever it is. They just have to, and my understanding is they just have to get under 200. Well, how do they do that? Okay, even if they sign Payton Watson, if they're 30 or so, or by the way, they'd have to structure the deal with Payton. We'll give you the money you want, but first year money's got to be a little bit lower, and we'll load you up on the back end. So that will be helpful. Also, what is helpful is it doesn't seem like people are, we were worried about Payton Watson making $30 million a year. It doesn't seem like people are banging down the door to give him trunks of cash. So he might be a little more affordable. But let's say even you brought him back, which I'm not even sure about that, to be honest with you. But so you're talking about $30 or $40 million that you would need to get rid of. Now, we've all been panicking because we thought, oh my God, they got to do that, or, it's curtains right now, but they don't. Technically, they don't have to do it till next June, but in reality, what that means is, because you can't really make roster adjustments after the trade deadline, they got to do it by the trade deadline. And they have a couple aces up their sleeve, right? One is Valanciunas. They can get rid of him, and after everything is said and done, and you get rid of them for $10 million, but then you got to sign somebody for $3 or $4 million to replace them. I think they can get $6 or $7 million back that way. Cam Johnson is gone because his contract is so favorable that you can get into the season, and he's got one of those trade and stretch contracts where players entering the final year of their contract, if they get traded, their new team can just simply cut them and spread that tax hit out. So his contract is desirable. So I don't know. The thing I don't know the answer to is if he's scheduled to make $22 million and he's on their books for half the year, do they only get half the tax relief when they trade him, or do they get the whole $22 million off the books? If they get the whole $22 million off the books, well, now we're talking. And of course they are actively trying to trade Aaron Gordon. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of interest in doing that right now in teams, but the Nuggets are being smart. They're saying we can be patient. We know we can get into the season, and it can be Gordon away from a championship or whatever. They can move that contract. So yes, do I expect them to move on from Cam Johnson and probably Aaron Gordon? Yes, I do expect that. I think the smarter move would be to do that, and maybe I'll number 2. But it seems apparent now, if we believe the reporting that you can check out on DenverSports.com, that says the Nuggets at least had an opportunity. It wasn't a done deal or whatever, but it killed the conversation with the Nuggets to get Jaylen Brown because they were not interested in Aaron Gordon. They were interested in Jamal Murray, and the Nuggets said, nope. At least in this situation, that's off the table. And so if they really think that Jamal Murray is a key piece of winning a championship, then it's curtains on the Nuggets. And so what does it matter? Just clear house. And that's what I was saying before the break, Sean. I don't know how you feel about it, but I really enjoy watching Nikola Jokic play. I think it would be awesome to see him go play somewhere where he could thrive. Some of the pressure would be off him, and he could just flourish in his final years as a top player in the league because he's got a Luka or just other great players that really complement him. Players that can actually shoulder the load of being the dog on the offense, unlike Jamal Murray, who is a wonderfully talented scorer, but when it all comes down to it, he's not elite, like in the clutch.
See, my thing is, Dan, there's only a couple of destinations where that's possible for a guy like Nikola Jokic. He would have to join a serious contender, i.e. the Spurs or maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder. And in return, that will make Denver fans resent him way more than they resent Carmelo Anthony. My side of it is where I'm thinking, even if he leaves the Denver Nuggets, that's not guaranteeing him a championship anywhere he goes.
No, it's not. No, there are no guaranteed championships. Heck, even LeBron, when he went to the Heat, we all thought,
it took a year first. Yeah, it took a year.
Not only did it take a year, they lost the championship to the Spurs in year number one, and people forget Tim Duncan missed.
They lost to Miami. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dallas Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, but Tim Duncan. So LeBron goes to Miami, and so they lost to Dirk that one year. The next year against Tim Duncan misses a point-blank, foot away from the basket layup, bank shot. Otherwise, that series is over. Lakers, wasn't that Shaq and Kobe and all those guys?
Yeah, Kevin Durant's the only guy that joined a super team and won, right? Durant with the Golden State Warriors. Mm-hmm. That'd be the only scenario out there where Jokic could go somewhere and flourish. And if that be the case, then he needs to stay in Denver and play his couple of more years out and ride off into the sunset,
dude,
man.
I just to see the way he plays, and I feel bad for him.
He looks like he's dejected, for sure.
It's such a – it all just seems like such a struggle for him playing with what he's surrounded by here in Denver. And I would just love to see him go somewhere where he could actually 100% flourish. I know he gets triple-doubles and all that, but I would be excited by that possibility. All right, so we've got a lot. You guys have really responded a lot to this Carmelo conversation, why it's such a sore subject here in Denver. And there's this idea, would there be a double standard? Would Nikola Jokic still be beloved, even though he essentially did the exact same thing that if he leaves, that Carmelo Anthony would have done? And for those of you that missed it, we kind of broached this subject with our own James Merrillat from DenverSports.com earlier in the program, and here's what he had to say. What can I get on your bacon about right now? Like, I noticed you've been a little cautious with the gold that you typically give us on like social media. You've been a little quiet recently. You have put out there the stuff about trading Nikola and things like that. So what's got you fired up right now on the day after 4th of July?
Well, I'm still excited to see what happens with the LeBron sweepstakes. Now, I think that's a long shot. I think the Nuggets are going to turn out to be they may be a bridesmaid. They won't be the maid of honor, but they'll be the bridesmaid, but they're not going to be the bride. So that's going to be disappointing. And then when they don't get anybody there, they weren't involved in the Jaylen Brown trade. Obviously, he goes to Philly. So we're going to be having the conversation. Well, what are the Nuggets doing? Are they just running it back? What do they do with Payton Watson? If they don't bring him back and don't run it back with everyone, then it'll really be a mystery of, man, they're wasting a year with Jokic here. What do you do with him not signing his extension? Like, it gets messy at that point, Dan. So there's two ways they can avoid that. Obviously, the LeBron signing would be a huge way to avoid it. At least, re-sign Payton Watson, run it back. We can all debate and talk about whether or not it would have been different if they'd had Payton Watson and AG, but at least there's an argument to be made. If this roster goes backward too much, I mean, you've already lost Big Val, you've already lost Tim Hardaway Jr., not huge losses, but certainly haven't replaced them yet. That's what's going to be sticking in our craw is, oh my gosh, you got a year of Nikola Jokic's prime that is dwindling, and you didn't bother to improve the roster. If anything, you took a step back. That would be disappointing.
All right, so let me ask you this, because you actually have a unique perspective on this. And I understand I might be putting you on the spot, but you've been highly critical of the Kroenkes, so I don't think I'm out of bounds with this question. But there's a lot of talk about whether the Kroenkes are cheap or not, if they want to always looking to pinch a buck. You have some people that say yes, some people say that's not fair. Look at all the championships, all they do is win, this and that. Now, a lot of people don't know this. You were a 2-time big-time executive over there because you started Altitude Sports Radio, and then you slid over into you kind of called yourself the Joe Ellis, so to speak, front office guy, business guy of the Mammoth, who also won a championship. Was it your experience when you were in that executive role? Did they say, hey, what we're here to do is we're here to be like Pat Bowlen. We hire good people, and we give them all the resources they need to succeed, or were they cheap? What was your experience as a big executive there at the building?
Well, I'm going to hedge my answer a bit, or it's going to sound like a hedge, and I'm really not trying to. It was a little bit of somewhere in between, right? It wasn't Super Bowl or bust mentality of Pat Bowlen, and we'll spend whatever we have to spend, but it also wasn't cheap. They're not the Bidwells and some of the owners that have been in sports for Paul Brown and or Mike Brown in Cincinnati. They're not in that category. They'll spend money. They're just not going to overspend. They're not going to push all their chips in. I mean, the number of times I sat in a meeting and heard, hey, we want to win and we want to make money, not in that order. It's like, okay, I get it. You're running a business. They want to win. They don't have to win, right? Like, I think there's a different mentality. Yeah. I think there are some owners that have to win, and they'll spend whatever they have to do it. They're running a business. Every single one of them is running as an individual in its own silo. So if the Nuggets are doing great financially, that doesn't help compensate for the Avs, falling short as an example. So then the other part of it was they didn't, player-wise, they probably did, but they didn't really invest in their people, right? Like, it wasn't like, hey, we've got this great GM, we've got this great team president, we've got this whatever.
What are you talking about? You're one of those guys. Like, you're the guy.
They didn't look at it and say, we got to do whatever we got to do to keep them. If something came along that was a better offer, they were happy to let him walk because there's plenty of people lining up to take those jobs.
I heard that you demanded ownership in the Mammoth, and that they were in a position where they simply
played the Tim Connolly card.
Yeah. You were like the original Tim Connolly, and they were distraught because they knew the hits they would take if they let you walk out the door with the Mammoth, but they had no choice because your salary demands were just so exorbitant that they had no choice, James.
And look, it was a great experience. The people I worked with were awesome. I'm just giving you the honest answer of how they run their organization. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to get back in media, but, when the offer from the fan came along, it was like, okay. And they were happy to find somebody else to take my job at the Mammoth, and that was okay.
You know me, I'm just curious. So if you're gonna throw a little breadcrumb out there, I'm gonna want to follow it until you cut me off. What do you mean you didn't think you were going to get back into media? What was your plan? What did you think you were going to do?
I intentionally moved over to the team side of things. So it was, say, work for the Mammoth, kind of learn the business, learn things over there, and then hopefully move to the Nuggets or Avs or even the Rams at that point, since I was in the organization. That was the ultimate plan, but then the chance to, join the Patriots of sports media in Denver came along, and it was too hard to pass up.
Okay. Well, hey, we're glad we benefit from it. It's awesome. Now let me ask you this. I'm going to give you a softball because I know your answer. By the way, I did, James, because you came on the show on Friday, and you were trotting out there this narrative that Carmelo Anthony was completely fair to the Nuggets, and all he said was, I just want to know, if you're going to rebuild, let me out. And you said, go look it up. He said it at the time, because I know he says it now, and he said it 5 years ago after he retired, and he's trying to change the narrative afterwards. But I did not see, all I saw were quotes saying, I just want to keep my options open. I just want to keep my options open, this and that. So, I did not see any narrative where at the time he was going public saying, guys, I love Denver and I want to stay, but, they're not serious about winning here, so I want to leave. Like,
it was more about their commitment to winning, and it was also sort of their direction, right? Because they were at a crossroads. That was after George Karl had the cancer situation to where he couldn't coach him in the second half of the season in the playoffs. They had big decisions to make on Kmart and Marcus Camby and players like that were key pieces of that team. So he couldn't get answers on, well, what are we doing with these guys? What's the plan? Where are we going? What's the commitment? And that was part of the reason he was up in the air on what he was going to do. So, and I think those are very fair questions on his part. He had gotten to the point with the organization where he was that level of player, best player in the history of the organization prior to Nikola Jokic. And so it was fair for him to ask those questions. And if they couldn't give him the answers he wanted, he was going to go somewhere else where he thought he could get that commitment.
Okay, so here's the question. Hey, man, this is business. Teams aren't necessarily loyal to their players or whatever. So he wanted to leave, he left. And he gave them an opportunity. He was very fair and open and honest with them. Say, hey, man, get what you can. I want to go. And they did. So now we have Nikola Jokic. I said on the show the other day, like, hey, if they're going to waste his career, I'd rather him go somewhere else where we can see him be free and happy and maybe win a championship and be on legitimate contenders and not have to slog through and have all these seasons where they have no shot and James Merilatt's taking shots and he's not in shape and this and that. But if he leaves, isn't it the same thing? Mike Rice was saying, well, no, I think the fans would be okay with it. So would that be a double standard by the fans that if Nikola Jokic leaves, the city behind, oh, well, he gave us his best, but Carmelo Anthony he's the villain that had to, Lala had to take to New York?
Yes, it'd be a giant double standard. Now, there's reasons for that. One of them is Melo every year disappointed in the playoffs, and then he acted like, at least in the minds of people who believe the narrative, and Will Peterson's at the top of this group, that, he was too good for Denver, and that's the story they got out there. So, if it depends on what the spin is from the team. If Jokic turns down $350 million or whatever it is next year and goes and signs for, $100 million less to play in New York or LA or somewhere like that, there may be some of that positioning, but he's also won a title here. So that gives him basically a free pass. He can go do whatever he wants to after that. That's the difference. Melo, other than one season, was done in the first round of the playoffs every year. And then the perception was that he was acting like he was better than the Nuggets or too good for the Nuggets, and that rubbed people the wrong way. Jokic isn't going to be that way because he's got that title, and there's no way that that's ever going to you can't take that away, obviously, and there's certain members of the fan base and a big piece of them that as long as that happens, there's nothing he can do that's going to be wrong.
All right, real quick, Broncos. Can we just call them the new sheriff of the AFC? Like, why would we have any other expectations than like you said, you've crowned Davis Webb already. I've given you a hard time about that on the show. You've already crowned him. He's the next head coach, all that stuff. They added Jalen Waddle. They got, basically running back the defense. Bo Nix is coming back another year stronger. You're coming around on Sean Payton. I don't know that you're 100% there yet, James, but you're coming around. You're at least keeping your options open on that. So why would we expect anything less?
We shouldn't. I'm very bullish on the Broncos. Now, that said, do I think they're going to go 14-3? I don't. They hit a lot of green lights last year. They have a much tougher schedule this year. 14 wins is tough to get to. They're not going to win that high a percentage of one-score games. They could be a much better team and go 12-5. But I think they're going to contend for certainly the AFC West. I think they're going to contend for that one seed, and I think they'll have a home playoff game to start with. And once you're in the tournament at that point, anything can happen. So it's not Super Bowl or bust from the standpoint of, hey, if they don't get there, it's time to rethink Bo Nix and it's time to rethink Sean Payton. It's not that case, but it is, hey, that's a realistic expectation, is that they should be contending for the Super Bowl, could get to the Super Bowl, could win the Super Bowl. Absolutely. Bo Nix is, we saw last year, when he's out there, they got a chance in every single game. When he's not, it's pretty ugly. So I think that AFC title game, and look, I was on board by then, but I was a skeptic to start with Bo Nix. But after that game, after watching Jarrett Stidham run this team, if that didn't make you believe that, hey, Bo Nix is the guy, I don't think anything's going to convince you. So I'm bullish on this team. I think it's Super Bowl expectations, not Super Bowl or bust.
You weren't high on him? I thought you were giving him the ultimate compliment by calling him right-handed Tebow.
Well, I mean, he was a gamer, made plays late, pulled the rabbit out of the hat. That was That was a compliment. So, we were talking the other day who the top 5 quarterbacks in Broncos history is. It left-handed Tebow or right-handed Tebow? You decide.
I love it. We did, by the way. Thank you for that. We had some good segments about that afterwards.
Oh,
now
you're welcome. I'm co-producing the show now.
Yeah, absolutely. You get double your pay. You get double your management pay.
Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
Now let me ask you 2 more fun ones. When we were setting this up, I don't want to get into your business. Because far be it from me, to poke around in, your personal life. But you said you were on East Coast time. Did you go to? I know you run in some pretty rich, fat circles. Were you at the wedding?
I was not. I am standing at the Ernest F. Hollins terminal at Charleston International Airport at the moment, Dan, sweating my, what's off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, last thing here on the RamosLaw.com text line says, I'm a huge Marilat fan. I might be in the minority. Now, why would anybody? That's like when CJ came on the show and said, Dan, you're supposed to be a villain. Now, why would I said, who says I'm a villain? Why would anybody assume that they'd be in the minority if they were a James Marilat fan?
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty funny because, probably once a week, I'll bump into somebody at the, out and about or at the airport coming out to Charleston, and they'll be like, hey, love your takes. Don't always agree with you, but I get mostly positive reviews. So I think this is a false narrative out there, Dan. I mean, in person, everybody's really nice. They're just not nice on Twitter. That's all.
That's right. All right, James Marilat, we'll have safe travels. We'll do it again. The most popular segment on Denver radio every single week is the James Marilat segment.
I always enjoy it, Dan. I'll talk to you next weekend.
All right, that's James Marilat. You want to react to him? Coming up next is Your Shot.
The Rockies aren't winning the West, but they might be one of the most fun teams in baseball now. Rookie TJ Rumfield is raking. Hunter Goodman's launching homers at a rate that has all-star voters and trade deadline scouts paying attention. Mickey Moniak is back healthy, and Sid Satella's having a career year out of the bullpen. The trade deadline's August 3rd. Who stays? Who goes? What's the new front office building toward? Denver Sports is all over it. Denver Sports 104.3, The Fan.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. It's a Sunday morning. It's an easy like Sunday morning edition of the Dan Jacobs Show. And you know what I usually like to do before I come in to do the show? I like to get some protein and those breakfast meats, and they get delivered fresh to my front door. Bacon, smoked fresh bacon, breakfast sausages. It's so delicious. It puts a nice aroma in the house, and everybody else comes downstairs and they're so excited. They're so happy. It's a great way to start your day, and it's all possible in my house because of DeerTrailMeatCo.com. Don't sleep on that pork. So many good breakfast meats, jalapeno cheddar sausage, bratwurst. When I was over in Ireland, they were amazed all these different sausages we have here in the United States, and they will make those fresh for you. You can tell them what kind of sausages you want. Smoked sausage, kielbasa, country sausage, whatever you want. They'll make it for you at DeerTrailMeatCo.com. Check them out. Tremendous savings. They're going to deliver it to your front door with a money-back guarantee at tremendous savings over the box stores. DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know you can't cook. You're not one of those people who say that they can, but when people come over for dinner, they find out the hard way, you can't. You can't even microwave popcorn, and that's literally just one button. Plus, measuring and patience are huge parts of cooking, and that's just not you. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pricing coverage match limited by state law.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Xfinity. Usually when something sounds way too good to be true, it is. Imagine someone says you can cut your mobile bill in half. Sounds like a fantasy, but with Xfinity Mobile, it's a real deal. Because when you have Xfinity Internet, you can cut your mobile bill in half. Plus, try Xfinity Mobile free for a year, no commitment. That's a lot of streaming, sharing, scrolling, and whatever else you can do with your phone, all for half the price and none of the commitment. What that means, you'll save big over Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Now all you have to do is think about how you'll spend all that extra money. Call 1-800-XFINITY, go to XfinityMobile.com, or visit a local Xfinity store to switch today. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Savings compare one line of Xfinity Mobile Select to comparable plans from T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T as of 3/24/26. Taxes and fees extra. $30 monthly discount limited to new mobile customers only. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
Do you have a good lemonade recipe? I'm looking for one. This is Jay Rickstrew for Alpine Bank, member FDIC, an equal housing lender. Now that summer is here, so are new opportunities. Fresh as a glass of lemonade. Maybe a home project is on your mind. Would your family like to take a camping trip somewhere fun? Whatever you'd like to make happen this season, Alpine Bank would like to be part of it. There are so many helpful tools and resources we offer to make this a great summer. Please give us a chance to tell you more about them. Stop by sometime soon. Oh, and if you have that lemonade recipe, bring it along too. My wife makes a peach pie that's knock your socks off. Alpine Bank, committed to Colorado and you.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan.
All right. Thanks to James Marilat for some of your reactions. Come up here in just a second. Now, as we were playing that, I was talking to you, Sean Boyd. I don't want to air any of your business. You do have an interesting pickle that a quandary, so to speak, to find yourself in. I don't, if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to go down that road.
Don't do it, Dan.
I'm not going to do that. But it did remind me of something from last night at this little small kind of intimate gathering over, I was hanging with the rich kids. And one of them is J.J. Pellini. He's Kathy J's husband. He's a big-time executive around here. And it got a little uncomfortable because I wanted to say who, but there was another big executive around these parts that happened to be at the party last night. And there has been, have you ever had something that has just grown it's like a fishing tail, like over the years?
Yes,
that has grown.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we used to do this thing called Guys Flight Out, right? And it was awesome. It's like maybe the most awesome thing the station's ever done. We would take, I don't know, man, 20-some listeners or whatever, and we would go to Las Vegas for the first round of the NCAA tournament. Awesome. Just, we do shows. We take all the shows. It was fantastic. Epic stories, epic parties, and this and that. But somehow last night we're getting on the topic of Vegas and this and that and going downtown. And we had this incident. I used to really love going downtown to Fremont Street. It's not what it once was. It used to be like cool, old school Vegas. We stayed down there at the Golden Nugget for the DU National Championship. A lot of sketchy stuff going on in Fremont. But back in the day, I used to like to go down there because it gave you that kind of old school Vegas vibe where they were more friendly to the player. You could do some lower stakes table games. You could play a little longer.
Definitely better tables.
Now, the cocktail waitresses were definitely a little past their prime, but then they gave you a high level of service because they wanted to make that tip money. And so, your drink was always full and this and that. So we got our crew here from the station and we're going downtown. And so I'm like, let's do this right. If you play your cards right, you can actually get a limo. This was before Uber or whatever for, about the same price, maybe a little bit more of, taking a taxi for that many people. Like we had a lot of people. And so we go downtown. Everybody gets tore up. It was a crazy night. And you know what's right next to the Strip? In-N-Out. We're from Colorado. At that time, most people never have a chance to get in and out. So we asked the limo driver, we stop at In-N-Out. And one of our guys here, I won't name names or whatever, but he was a sales guy at the time. He didn't want to pay for the limo. He didn't want to chip in. he's a big-time sales guy. He's probably got more money than all of us at that point, right? So he and his buddy run across the interstate to get back to the hotel and avoid paying, stiff us on the limo bill. And which, by the way, is incredibly dangerous to be, playing Frogger across I-15 at, 1 a.m, hammered drunk. Like, he was lucky he wasn't dead. And here's where the story that I remember was true. Yes, I had some words for him. And I do remember picking him up. Now, this is a very solid guy. Like, he's probably a good, solid, 6 foot, 250, right? Like, pretty solid dude. Now, I was a much larger, stronger man at that point as well. So I remember, I wasn't always in my right mind either. I'd been participating in everything just like everybody else. So I do remember picking him up. But then I remember, so I go to JJ's house, I don't know, like a year or two ago. I run into somebody that was on the trip, and he starts recounting the story to me, and it's become like, oh, way more legendary. I did all the stuff I didn't do to, get back at this guy. Well, now last night it morphs into that I picked the guy up by his ankles and started shaking him upside down to get the limo money out of him. And I'm like, that didn't happen. There's no way. Do you think I could pick up a grown man by his ankles and swing him around? And he's saying this in front of, another, boss type around here. I'm like, hey man, you're going to give me a bad rep. They're going to think I'm a nut. If they don't already, I got enough true stories to live down. I wasn't shaking down my teammates. So one of those stories how, the night you had that we will not mention, we will not betray the bro code for you, Sean. But yeah, your funny situation's funny. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Vegas days. On the Champ Honda text line, chat line, so Jesse Owens says, Zach was right about Bo, too. The Broncos missed going to the Super Bowl. Well, no, that's not what we get on Zach's bacon about. Because, his main, I don't want to call it Bo Nix smear campaign, but Zach's latest thing about Bo Nix came after the injury, which has got us all panicked about, well, Bo Nix is damaged goods, essentially. Like, you just can't count on him. At some point, not only was this injury bound to happen, that we're really worried that in the future it's going to happen again. Injuries don't get better with age. They generally get worse, things like that. And it's just really scaring the daylights out of everybody. And he has not been proven right on that just yet. In fact, Bo Nix is ahead of schedule.
I mean, 2 surgeries in 2 years, Dan, that's worrisome.
Yeah, and by the way, it's more than that, too. Like, I think every level he's played on, he's had some sort of surgery on that area of his body, if I heard Zach right. But, medicine is amazing. They're really seriously talking about Patrick Mahomes, who really tore up his knee, even worse than the typical just ACL injury. Like, he really destroyed his knee. And they're talking about him actually being ready to go on week 1 against the Broncos, which is just mind-boggling to me. So, things have come a long, long way. So, Bo Nix, I'm sure, will go on and have for example, the guy from the Redskins, the former Chiefs, Alex Smith, right? I've purposely not looked. They've shown pictures of his leg, but what happened to his leg, and he still came back and played. So a foot issue with Bo Nix, I'm not hitting the panic button yet. And I'm not willing to say that Zach was right on that. But he's been pushing a lot of panic buttons lately. He pushed the panic button on Cale Makar. That one you could say perhaps he was correct on. He pushed the panic button on. But I think they have a pretty good idea. They have just enough escape routes to find an off-ramp for the problems they themselves into on that. If the Nuggets trade Jokic, they would be condemning themselves to the bottom feeders of the NBA again. Almost any team in the league has traded or released an all-time great has always regressed. Example, Edmonton with Gretzky, Patriots with Brady, Colts with Manning, the Red Sox with the Babe, just to name a few, Mike and Thornton. I agree with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm questioning the analysis on the Colts. They got Andrew Luck and beat Peyton Manning in the playoffs, and they went from a bottom feeder to, obviously they went from the bottom-feeding number 1 pick in the draft, which they did on purpose, to a perennial playoff team that actually upset and beat the Peyton Manning-led Broncos in the playoffs. So I would say with the Colts, they actually didn't regress. And part of the problems that we don't want to say around here, because we don't want to be guilty of talking bad about Peyton Manning, but the Colts were perennial underachievers with Peyton Manning. They got, out of an all-time great quarterback, they got 1 championship. And quite frankly, Sean Payton embarrassed him in his only other shot at a championship. And they should have had quite a few more shots at a championship with Peyton Manning. So I don't know that they got any worse. They didn't, get any better, right? Because Andrew Luck played himself out of the league by playing stupid. For such a smart guy, he sure was dumb. But they were good. They're playoff teams. Andrew Luck was pretty much as advertised. He just played too reckless, and he said, I had enough. And it may be one of those situations, too, where he's like, I don't like playing for this organization, like Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson or whatever.
So Dan, it sounds like the Denver Broncos, the Denver fan base as a whole, the conglomerate, has to be satisfied with getting the championships that they've gotten, because it sounds like, if your franchise is able to get at least 1 championship, then you've been accomplished.
No. If you have an all-time great, you should get multiple championships. You got to get while the getting is good, because it is so hard to win championships. But what we do know is your odds are dramatically increased when you have all-time great talent. It's not guaranteed, but we know in the NBA and the NHL, the all-time greats all have multiple, usually 3 or more championships. So no, I'm not. That's the thing with this. All they do is win, win, win when you talk about the Cronkies. No, for what they have, they are underachieving. I know that sounds weird to say. They've had a great run this decade and that they've gotten. I'm sorry, man. I just can't do it on the soccer thing.
The Rapids? We're not paying the Rapids?
No, the Arsenal.
The Arsenal, okay.
Because we were told they won a championship.
They did in the Premier League.
Oh. Mm-hmm. What happens when you win your league? What happens when you win the AFC or the American League? What happens when you win the American League?
You go on to the pinnacle of it all, right?
Oh, you win the World Series.
Yeah.
And then the best team is considered the team that won the World Series. So there's a team that wins the American League, and there's a team that wins the National League, right? The Avalanche won by far. It was not even close. They won the President's Trophy. They were by far the champion of the regular season for the NHL, correct?
Yeah,
same thing
right.
With the Broncos.
The same thing.
Right? So the Broncos have a championship this year, and I guess we got to give Stan Kroenke credit because he has a regular season championships. I guess that's what we're counting now. I understand
exactly
it's different. Listen, soccer fan, I know you want to come at me and say, Dan, you have no idea what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I understand the way they do it over there, right? They want to. Everybody gets a trophy apparently, because what I saw was the Cronkies are over there drinking champagne, spraying champagne, all this stuff, and then their team lost in the playoffs, and then they threw another party for a regular season championship. I understand the league that they're in, that they won, and they consider that a championship, but I don't consider it the same as winning a Super Bowl or a World Series or an NBA title or an NHL title, because you know what? They lost in the championship game. When it was time to go actually play for the championship, they lost. But some reason we're still like, yeah, they're the champions, though, because soccer. And Dan, you're an idiot because you don't understand soccer. No, I understand it. If that's the way you want to do it, God bless you. I'm just not giving you the same credit as I give an NBA champion or an NFL champion or an NHL champion or a Major League Baseball champion. I'm not doing it. All right, we got one more segment with you. Your last chance to check in on the RamosLaw.com text line or the Schomp Honda YouTube chat line. It's the Dan Jacobs Show here on The Fan.
The Nuggets summer is heating up, and the biggest questions are still on the table. Will Nikola Jokic sign an extension or keep Denver holding its breath? Could a blockbuster Jamal Murray trade reshape the roster? And with Peyton Watson hitting restricted free agency, what does the core look like moving forward? Stay locked in. Denver Sports has you covered all off-season long. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303-LAW-4040, 303-LAW-4040. I certainly hope none of you got into an accident over the weekend, but it was a holiday weekend. Things do happen. If you got injured, please give us a call, 303-LAW-4040. We'll be in the office first thing tomorrow morning, 303-LAW-4040. What we say is save that number in your phone, and here's why. You never know when an accident's going to happen. You don't plan on it. You don't want it to happen, but sometimes they do happen, and most people are just in shock. They don't know what to do. They got adrenaline happening, and then they get themselves in a bad spot. Like, for example, one of the things that the insurance companies will do is they will try and get you to give a recorded statement before you consult with an attorney. And they'll say, they'll say all the nice things to make you feel like they're going to do the right thing. And then they lock in with their professional investigators. They lock you into statements, and then they don't do the right thing. Now, we have ways of coping with that, but the best thing is to just call us first. We're just going to give you an honest assessment, give you great advice, and if it makes sense, we'll have you come into the office and we'll sit down and come up with a plan. 303-LAW-4040. Save that number in your phone. You never know when you're going to need it. It's 303.
And going to the 55-plus plan saved us so much money.
A lot.
And that's important. Trying to keep costs down. The home internet's been perfect. It's fast, it's quick. The setup was so easy, it took less than 15 minutes.
It was like, ta-da! If you want simplicity, coverage, reliability, you want the whole package, T-Mobile has it.
Right now, T-Mobile customers 55 and up can get 2 phone lines on America's best network, plus America's fastest 5G home internet for just $30 each.
$30 per month each line with autopay plus taxes and fees. Minimum age 55. Pricing for home internet rely on 2 lines of Essentials Choice 55. $35 connection charge per line required. Best mobile network and fastest 5G home internet based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence data 2H 2025. All rights reserved.
It's no secret that the checkout line feels a lot heavier. If those daily essentials are ending up on a credit card, those double-digit interest rates are quietly draining your bank account. If that debt is starting to feel heavy, you're not alone. And if you're a homeowner, you've likely looked at your mortgage rate and thought, I can't touch that. With American Financing's Smart Equity Loan, you don't have to. It allows you to wipe out high-interest debt and lower your monthly overhead while keeping your primary mortgage intact. It's a surgical strike against debt. Unlike a fluctuating HELOC, the Smart Equity Loan is a fixed-rate loan, giving you a predictable monthly payment. At American Financing, there are never any upfront fees to find out what you qualify for. Guys, talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant today. Experts who are paid to help you save, not sell you more than you need. So call them at 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at americanfinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
There's a difference between the cameras you buy at Home Depot and the cameras Vantage installs. Consumer cameras give you a grainy silhouette. Vantage cameras can read a license plate at the end of your driveway with full-color night vision, 24/7 recording, and no monthly subscription fees, so you never miss a thing. Invest in real security for your home. Schedule a free Vantage Threat Zone Analysis report for your property. Call Vantage at 720-366-7759 or visit vssicolorado.com today.
At Siltahar Motors, Ford and Lincoln employee pricing wraps up on July 6th. If it's been on your list, now's the time. You pay what Ford employees pay on hundreds of new vehicles. Thousands off sticker, no negotiating. The price is the price. Employee pricing won't last, but Siltahar always has something great coming. 66 years of finding ways to take care of Colorado. See all that is available at sthmotors.com, Highway 36 and Wadsworth. Siltahar Motors. Get everything you want out of a dealership.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
It's checkout time. Gotta go.
All right, final segment of the Dan Jacobs Show. Man, we had a good run here. 4 days. Live, local, with you guys here. Had the honor of filling in for Dover and Cecil on Thursday and Friday. Thank you for allowing me the privilege of being with you guys on that. Thank you, fan management. Love you guys for giving me the opportunity. But we're here to an end. I'll be back at it next weekend. So here's your final shots to get in here. See this guy sneaking at the end, making a run at Texter of the Day. Dan and coworkers. Thanks for all you do. Thank you for being here the day after the 4th. We appreciate you. Please pass on the respect and gratefulness to those behind the scenes. Well, they appreciate you too, Sean. You're not really behind the scenes. You're kind of riding shotgun with me. But yeah, Alex Becker this morning, Joe Goodwin. The other 3 days I think I was dealing with. So yeah, had a good time. Had a fun time hosting with Dante Gomez on Thursday, and then even he went to Hollywood on me and had to go camping and things like that. So he didn't host 2 days in a row, but I loved having him for the one day.
I like listening to you and Dante. Go back and forth. Dante's matured vastly in his sports talk radio journey, and it's good to see where he's come to.
So yeah, it's almost like if you were Zach By, what you would say is, "Hey man, Dante's doing a really good job now, right?" Right?
No, I wouldn't back him up. Dante trained me up, man. That's my guy.
Yeah, you've come a long way. I mean, from where you started, good God. No, he's doing great.
I mean, because as board operators, it's very seldom that a guy goes from rags to riches per se, and I've seen my boy go just down that path.
Oh, see, I like this. Now, this is maybe in the lead for texture of the day. I'm not sure if he's talking about you or me and Dante, but it says you two need your own show 100% daily show. Let's start the petition right now. Bring back Cagney and Lacey and Dan Jacobs and either Sean or Dante, doesn't matter to me, on a daily basis.
And see, folks, if that's what you truly believe, you got to hit that appreciation button. You got to send mail over to the station and tell them, hey, man, I want to hear that guy, that smooth, silky guy, Sean, on the air. I don't know. Maybe
here's how we do it. I've told the listeners how you do it. If you log on when we do this show, if you log on in mass numbers to the YouTube channel for the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs live broadcast each and every week, twice a week, and we get our numbers up, that'll send a message to management. That will just happen. Now, the funny thing is, I had a rather dark anniversary this week. You have the Facebook memories, and I think it was 7 years ago.
And it was dark?
It was dark because I knew what it meant, because I used to, sometimes I still do, but I would put out on socials, hey, coming up, Dan Jacobs filling in, doing this or doing that, and I knew by who I was filling in with that week. That was the last time I was really allowed, because back then I probably still am, but I got into some beef. In my mind, it was good-natured fun with my co-host, but he didn't take it so kindly, and that was the last time. After that, they're like, Dan, you do a really good job on your own. You're a really good solo host. So that was like my last soiree filling in with other hosts on this station and stuff like that. So it was a sad day, but it's all right. But I'm incredibly grateful for, every opportunity that they send my way.
Me too. That makes two of us. I'm going to second that notion.
Yeah. Hey, sure, you guys are better than country. Well, I can't bag on KYGL. I love me some KYGL. That's from Jeff in Denver. I watched the YouTube stream, but text in. See, we love that, man. We love that.
Brilliant.
You can get on the Sean Honda YouTube chat line, too. I got to figure out a way that I could get in the chat. Did any of the other hosts, jump in the YouTube chat?
I don't think they jump in the chat. They do read the chat, and so pretty much that is jumping in the chat when you interact with those guys or gals, rather. I know on the Tribe, for sure, they have a hockey lady
Mel in Denver.
Yeah, the residential hockey lady. She's always chiming in, and they're interacting with her. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. One day I caught myself getting into the chat as just a spectator.
Yeah.
But I got a little worried. I was like, man, I don't know if they're gonna know that this is Sean punching on the chat, because I was gonna punch on those guys.
Not with your handle. I've seen your handle. It's like X-rated. They would never.
Lot of verbal stuff toxicity goes on in the chats around the YouTube world, and so we call them the YouTube streets. It gets real dirty. Yeah.
The YouTube streets.
It gets real dirty out there, man.
All right, I was unaware of that. We have a relatively well-behaved bunch. We had a guy yesterday that just for 3 hours was just spewing nothing but hate, and which is fine. It just rolls off my back, but it does leave you wonder. It's like a Howard Stern effect, right? Like NBC does the ratings for Howard Stern. It's like people that love the show listen for an hour and a half. Why? Answer most commonly given, we want to know what he's going to say next. Now, this is where it gets interesting. People that hate the show listen for 2 hours. Why? They want to know what he's going to say next. So this guy kind of had that vibe going on. It's like, well, dude, if you hate us so much, like, I'm not encouraging you to leave. I love it. Stay with us. Do the old Jim Rome thing where, hey, if you hate us today, listen for 2 more weeks. And if you don't love us after 2 more weeks, listen for 2 more weeks, right? But, hey, man, I mean, why are you listening?
Am I crazy if I go and debate, like when I'm listening to the shows, and I'm actually trying to like send rebuttals back, via just me talking to myself though? Like, am I crazy for that?
No, we all do that, and I have to stop myself because I'll text, the guys directly.
I'm like, Zach, you're out of your mind. I do that sometimes too. I would text Zach, that's a fire segment. And then he may or may not text back. No, actually, he texts back every time.
Yeah,
he's not Hollywood.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He is a little bit of Hollywood. I ain't gonna lie, but he's a good dude. He's a good dude, and even though he is Hollywood on a lot of things, he still hasn't outgrown his britches as far as he's still good to his teammates and the people around him. So I'll give him credit for that, absolutely. And he is good about texting back, things like that. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Somebody says, I always wondered why you always flew solo. Man, they, let's just say this, especially the former players, they don't want none of that smoke. That's all I'm saying. That's all right. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not getting myself in any more trouble. I'm just going to be grateful for what a fantastic 4 days. Thankful for you, Sean Boyd. Thank you for riding with us today. We'll see you all next weekend, 11 a.m. on Saturday for the Dan Jacobs Show.
He's Judge Dan J. He doesn't mean no harm, but he doesn't mind telling you he's right, you are wrong. He's reading your checks, he's taking your calls. It's the Dan Jacobs Show, and he'll decide what the law will allow. Making your day the only way he knows how, by giving you the facts, cutting through the BS now. He's Judge Dan J. He doesn't mean no harm, but he doesn't mind telling you he's right and you are wrong.
The countdown is on. Broncos training camp is less than a month away. Rookies report July 22nd. Veterans hit Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit on the 28th. Bo Nix is expected back at full speed. Sean Payton skipping joint practices to maximize every rep. And it all builds toward a season opener on Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. From camp battles to kickoff, Denver Sports has you covered. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Switching your account numbers is hard. Being forced to switch, even worse. That's why at Belco Credit Union, we want to pay you to switch. From June 1st to August 31st, we're offering a $300 bonus when you open a new checking account with a qualifying direct deposit of $500 or more. They changed your account number. You can change who you bank with. Go to belco.org/switch for full offer details. Insured by NCUA. Membership eligibility required. Conditions and restrictions apply. Belco. Banking for everyone.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know that hiking isn't for you. Sure, it sounds nice to be in nature while exercising, but that's what a gym and houseplants are for. I mean, you don't even like walking upstairs. So why would you walk up a hill for miles? To what, end up high in the air? Come on, you know you're scared of heights. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A. Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that honey pepper pimento sandwich.
And that pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle-dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory, it's bold, it's flavorful.
Our faves are back. High five, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Legacy means tomorrow matters. Hi folks, Dan Cicchini, Done Right Home Improvements. Tomorrow, next week, next month, 10 years from now matters. My wife Susan and I started Done Right in our garage in 1985, and our family has always been focused on legacy. What we do, how we do it, how we treat people matters. As a result, we've grown to be one of the largest companies of our kind in Colorado, specializing in kitchens, baths, counters, floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. Here's our son Todd.
Dad, doing what's right shapes all of our projects. Whether a first-class kitchen renovation, a turnkey bathroom remodel, a full-service basement finish, or new windows and doors. We'll wow you with your project, your experience, and with an 8% scheduling incentive and a special financing rate of 0% APR with 72 equal monthly payments. Now couldn't be a better time. Dad?
Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. You have our word, we'll treat you right at Done Right. Reserve your spot. Go to drhi.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Xfinity. And when it comes to your internet, you want the most intelligent, and that's what they provide. The most intelligent Wi-Fi that can hunt down and fix problems. Reliability, well, you want the most reliable Wi-Fi for streaming, gaming, working from home, and coverage that goes wall to wall in your home. How about security? Wi-Fi that's security blanket for your network and reliability. Fiber-powered network with 99.99% reliability, built for speed so you can run multiple devices at once, and Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home tie and work together. Consistency, you can lock in 5 years of predictability. 5 years, the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi with our best equipment. Plus, you can get online with minutes, same-day Wi-Fi. Hey man, that's the price lock guarantee. 5 years, same price, no contracts, no commitments. It's all included. Everything you need, including the data and equipment, the most reliable Wi-Fi. That's Xfinity, guys. Imagine that.
Don't miss the Tree Farms Array of Tree Sale now through July 4th.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You are listening to Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Be available for their round of 16 match against Belgium tomorrow in Seattle after FIFA today suspended the controversial red card he received in the victory over Bosnia. Apple TV MLS analyst Indra De St. Aubin, if this U.S.-Belgium round of 16 match is the biggest game in Team USA men's history.
I think it's the biggest game they've ever had because of the quality of the team and being on home soil. It feels like there's a higher expectation. The knockout round and the round of 16 is nothing new for this United States team. That's not uncharted territory, but I think the expectation is so much higher. So this is going to be a massive opportunity for them to take hold of the whole energy that's going on about this World Cup and about this men's national team in North America. So yes, I would agree with you 100%. This is the biggest game in men's national team history for the U.S.
Indra De St. Aubin on ESPN Radio's Matt Myron. Top women's seed at Wimbledon, Aryna Sabalenka knocked out by 14 seed Naomi Osaka in straight sets. Novak Djokovic moving on to the quarters with a record-setting win. He passes Roger Federer for the most all-time men's Wimbledon wins with 106. Final round of the John Deere Classic. Ben Coles has the lead at 20 under, 2 ahead of Lee Hodges. In baseball, the Mets lead the Braves 5-3 in the third in Atlanta. Juan Soto with a 2-run single. Twins have a 2-0 lead on the Yankees in the fifth in the Bronx. Reds in front of the Orioles 2-1 in the seventh.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Monday, 4th of July, NBA free agency, and of course, Major League Baseball. And I'll react to it all in my Upon Further Review at 7 a.m. Eastern. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Independence Day weekend on ESPN Radio.
The USA could win the World Cup on this next kick. Chastain will take it. Go! Tiger
records as the 100th U.S. Open champion in history.
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
This is Michael Jordan at his best. There's very few people on this planet that can do this.
And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henrietta.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his 5th!
Celebrate America 250 with us. This is Game Day on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Time this show, we go to the guest line and make this a three-man program because we are thrilled to bring in Dan Thomas, host of ESPN FC 7 days a week on ESPN Plus. You can find him on Twitter at Dan Thomas ESPN. Of course, right here with us, where we will get a full World Cup breakdown of what we have in front of us today and the immediate reaction to one heck of a birthday present that the Americans got here 4th of July weekend. Dan, how are you?
I'm very well. Don't give me my Twitter handle because I'm going to say critical things about FIFA and the US and everything, and I don't want any of that hassle this weekend.
Just don't read the mentions. That's the secret.
Yeah,
Just stay out of the mentions.
we learned that a long time ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we sure did. I mean, just if you could jump in. I mean, it's a game-changing update, Dan. Flo Balogun's red card suspension for tomorrow has been reversed. He's available to play against Belgium. Obviously, I want to know what kind of boost you think that is for the Americans, but also, at the end of that match against Bosnia, even Mauricio Pochettino didn't understand the appeals process, thought there might be one, then we were told there wasn't one. No one expected this to happen. So what's your understanding, to the best of your knowledge, as to why they're allowing Flo Balogun to play tomorrow?
Did you see Mr. President Trump's tweet? I believe that's why. I think there has been a phone call made to Infantino about the decision, and they found this rule, which is in the law book, that basically says the red card will still stand in the history books, but it is suspended for 12 months, which means that, yes, Balogun can play against Belgium tomorrow. Now, there's two sides to this. First side is, was it a red card? I didn't think it was a red card. So you could say, well, then this is the right decision. This is exactly what should have happened because it was never a red card, so therefore he shouldn't have missed this game. I completely agree with that side. But the issue is that this has never happened in the modern era. FIFA have never come out and said, you know what, we're going to suspend the red card now, which means the player can play in the game, which really he shouldn't be playing in. That's what's upset people, is the fact that this has now set a standard that you feel will not be upheld when it comes to other teams and other players that are in this situation.
How much, to what degree does this elevate the Americans' chances against Belgium? The Americans were already slight favorites to advance, kind of pick 'em situation. How over the top does bringing in now your leading scorer and a motivated one obviously push them in front?
It's a huge advantage. He's been one of the best, if not the best player of the tournament for the US so far. And we've talked about it so much on the show the last couple of days. There's a huge golfing class between Balogun and Pepe, or Balogun and Haji Wright. So it leaves the US very much at a disadvantage. Slight favourites they were yesterday to go through to the quarterfinals. This certainly gives them more of an edge because he's such an important player to Mauricio Pochettino.
So the U.S. has done something that it had not done since '02, and that's win a World Cup knockout match. Beating Bosnia, I referred to it earlier as kind of a breakthrough, but Belgium feels a bit like a referendum. You're one of the host nations. You've got the crowd, the wind at your back. Beating Bosnia was big. What are your thoughts on, the win over Bosnia, the buy-in to what Pochettino was selling, and how far they can now realistically go from here as a result of it all?
They can go far. Belgium aren't very good. Belgium are old. They are an old team. Thibaut Courtois is their best player, and he's their goalkeeper. But you think Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, these are their last World Cups. But they won't return for 2030, and they have not looked good. Senegal should have gone through. In the last round, they were 2-0 up. Courtois pulled off a great save in the 80th minute. 2 late goals for Belgium, extra time. Bit of a dodgy penalty at the end. Belgium go through in the 119th minute. But by no means have we seen anything from Belgium that sees that they're going to dominate this U.S. side. Hence, the U.S. are favourites.
We have host of ESPN FC, Dan Thomas, hanging with Kyle Bailey, Adam Kaufman here on Game Day. Let's talk about the couple of matches in the round of 16 that we have in front of us here, Dan. The first one, Brazil-Norway, a little less than an hour away. Each team 2 wins in the tournament so far. Norway did take a loss, Brazil a draw. Those being the differences to this point, obviously, beyond, seeing the additional wins in knockout play. But it seems to me, just some of the articles that I read, Brazil is, I don't know about consensus to advance here, but certainly the one that the country that people are leaning toward ultimately winning. So what does it take for Norway to change that conversation, maybe force some extra time and alter the result here?
Hey, Norway have a point of history. Norway have never lost to Brazil. So they're pointing to that. They beat them in 1998, a huge shock on that occasion. And this time they've got Erling Haaland, one of the best players in the world. Along with Odegaard, these are 2 fantastic players who really add something special to this squad. For Brazil, obviously you point to the likes of Vinicius Jr. and what they bring to the table. If you're Norway, what excites you about the prospect of beating this Brazil team is that aging midfield for Brazil. Carlo Ancelotti has relied on Casemiro, and yes, he scored in the last round, but there's a lot of vulnerability there in the middle, and especially with the heat in New York that we see today, it's going to be a tough one for those veterans. So I think Norway will certainly give themselves a chance, but Brazil, for me, are still a little too strong and will make it through.
Now, Dan, we have learned recently that England, of course, is in Mexico. The Mexican fans have located the England's team hotel. They've been lighting off fireworks and playing music. We also have learned that the England squad has been given the green light to use Viagra to combat the altitude in Mexico City, which is a wild twist in storyline. What kind of impact do you think all of that could have in this round of 16 clash? I mean, England's looking to keep their run going. What are you expecting later this evening?
Well, Phil, I can't really speak personally about whether or not Viagra helps you at altitude, so let's sidestep that for the moment. What's interesting, last time last time that England played at Azteca was 1986 against Argentina, where we saw that famous hand of God goal from Diego Maradona, where he out-jumped Peter Shilton and punched it into the back of the net. So maybe as FIFA in a forgiving mood, we can get that turned over, 40 years later. This is going to be tough. The Mexican fans are going to make it difficult for this England side. England have not looked good at